आवत ही हर्ष नहीं,
नैनन नहीं स्नेह, तुलसी तहाँ न जाइए, जो कंचन बरसे में. Wow.
Your environment isn't innocent. Maybe in one of your articles.
I don't remember saying it, but I'm happy to say it now.
Okay.
Let me say it. The environment isn't innocent.
Yeah.
Society is the source of its own problems and their solutions.
भगवान कहाँ है इसमें?
What?
प्रभु.
I'm constructing something based on my storytelling skills. It doesn't mean I've fabricated anything or spoken any falsehoods, but I have connected up those things which I choose to connect up to tell you a story that's going to make sense to you.
Wow.
It isn't the truth. None of it is a lie, but that's different from saying it's the truth. It's just a view of the truth. It's a picture is post-created, right?
हमारे रिश्ते खराब तब से होने लगे थे जब लीसा ने वैगनार ली थी. वो मुझे बिल्कुल समझ नहीं आया, इसलिए मैंने रिजाइन डाल दिया अगले दिन. हाँ.
So even Tiger Woods can't become like Tiger Woods even if he learns from Tiger Woods.
Precisely, that's what he said.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said as well.
I must have slipped it to him at some point.
Who's running the world? Is it America? Is it my local MLA, or is it Modi ji, or
It's
who's
kings.
it?
It's kings.
Who's kings? What about your teens and stuff? What were you doing?
Doing what other people do in their teens.
Okay.
बालस्थावत क्रीडा सक्तः,
क्या बात है.
तरुणस्थावत तरुणी सक्तः.
वाह. मुझे लगा था मैं कविता सुनाऊंगा आपको, आपने तो मुझे हिला दिया.
Whatever I do with that money would be the truth, and whatever I tell you now will be a lie. There are a series of lotteries, okay, in which the prize is a ticket to the next lottery. If you want to understand this, so drive your car out, and when it's raining, try to get under a street light and watch the droplets forming on your screen. You'll have to park in the right place.
Yeah.
And do it while the rains last.
Yeah.
You've got 15 days to change your life, guys.
Welcome to the most special episode I've ever recorded. This conversation is with Itu Chaudhuri, who is the founder of Itu Chaudhuri Design, which is one of the leading design firms in India. I had the good fortune of working with ICD between 2010 and 2014, I think, good 4 years. And that was the most learning-oriented period of my life. I mean, honestly, I'm short on words. I don't know. I was just telling our editor before we started rolling, क्या बोलें और क्या ना बोलें इस introduction में. Itu Chaudhuri is the most incredible human being I've ever met. I mean, please notice that I'm not saying one of the most incredible human beings. I'm saying the most incredible human beings I've met. His knowledge, the way he speaks, the way his humor, his ability to express things and think about things in the way people usually don't think about. And every conversation with him is, I hate to use the word, but nothing short of enlightening. And you learn hell of a lot in every single conversation, whether that's over a beer or in a podcast. So you're in for a treat, my friends. I'm not going to say, like, I cannot express how I feel about this. Like, just, this is a treat to me. This is a treat to you, to all my friends and colleagues, ex-colleagues who used to work with me at ICD. Do tune in. 2.5 hours, I guess. It's a beautiful conversation. Every bit of it will make you pause and think about life differently. And so without further ado, here's Itu Chaudhuri and me in the Find Your Ultra podcast, episode 69. Indulge away. Itu sir, welcome to the Find Your Ultra podcast.
Lovely to be here.
I've been smiling on my way here. मैं इस पॉडकास्ट के बारे में कब से सोच रहा हूँ. I've been thinking about it for months and I've been making notes. Like I just told you, I can keep scrolling. That just doesn't end that notepad of about the number of things that I want to talk to you about.
Let's
hope. The good thing is I've forgotten all that I've written. Like
Excellent.
I've not had a chance to like go through those in detail. और अब मुझे याद भी नहीं कि इस context में क्यों वो सवाल लिखा था. But it doesn't matter. This podcast, this particular episode is really for me and for some of my friends who worked with ICD. It's really like I've had a chance to work with you at ICD for good 4 years. That was the period of my life in which I learned the most. That's what I keep telling people. So जो भी मुझे जानता है 10 साल से, पिछले 12 साल से जब से मैं ICD से निकला हूँ, everybody knows you.
My sympathies are with you.
but there are so many people who are so looking forward to this. So I'm
That's
super
great.
excited, and we'll just detour and we'll talk about all kinds of things. Though we've spent like 4 years working together. I would want to begin this with your personal life, personal journey. We want to get to know you a little bit. So take me to your childhood, like the first decade of your life. What do you remember from that?
If I'm going to talk about the happy things,
Hmm.
then I remember, I think the formative influences on how I turned out, especially in my work as a designer. So I do remember it was a very lively house. It was always being visited by artists and architects, and I became an architect, as you may remember.
Yes.
Because my parents were local guardians to some architect friends who used to come to our house and do their projects and make models. And I got introduced to that, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. However, my father, in his kind of way, practiced many things. Though he was a sculptor, he practiced just about everything he could get his hands on. He designed furniture. When I say design, it was a detailed designing. It was not showing somebody a photograph and saying "aisa bana de." It was a design, as you understand the word
with
design.
the specifications and the purpose of
that
it.
chair there is
designed.
Is designed by him. It's off camera. I'll send you a picture if you like. So he was a multifarious guy. He did graphic design sometimes, and it's not like he knew these things technically. So the idea that all the crafts and all the arts are one was something instilled into me very early. So my mother too is similarly inclined, and she's a potter. And so whether it was ceramics or paper or metal or wood, I mean, I saw this stuff kind of happening around me. I've spent nights in the foundry where my father would be doing bronze casting in college, where he'd be teaching students bronze casting and actually performing bronze casting. And it was a huge floor with cranes going across it, which he had designed the studio. And he was very kind of practical engineering type of guy. He's quite a jack of all trades in that way, though sculpture was his beat. And I've seen the metal being poured, and I've spent nights there. And the reason I spent nights there because my mother was there, and my mother was there because my father was there, and my father was there because, metal ingots take their time to melt. Or jab temperature aata hai, then the molten metal reaches a certain temperature and it has to be poured. वो आपको पूछ के नहीं आता है. तो आप जिसको कहते हो ना कि लोहा गरम है, तो हम कुछ 1000 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड की बात कर रहे हैं. गरम है मतलब लिक्विड है, और वो एक क्या बोलें, एक ग्लोइंग ट्रॉपिकाना ऑरेंज जूस जैसा कुछ. एक बहुत ही गाढ़ा अगर होता कोई ट्रॉपिकाना जो अंदर से चमक रहा होता, तो मोल्टन मेटल आपने तस्वीरें देखी होंगी. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दिस I've grown up there among amateurs and sculpture, and तो मुझे कभी नहीं लगा कि आर्किटेक्चर कुछ अलग है और आर्ट अलग है और डिजाइन अलग है. Because of this, I've had a very composite, integrated view of these. And it's only later that I got exposed to the idea that design is something different from
arts
art.
And crafts.
Well, no, craft, absolutely not. It is rooted in craft. So, no craft, no design.
So, help us understand this better. So, with those who don't have much exposure to design or haven't worked with a design studio or a design agency, or
the lucky
even
ones,
the lucky ones, yes. Yeah. The unlucky ones, really. But when I joined ICT, this is what you told me also, that if you're just curious about this and you learn more about, just see things more and observe things more, try to notice design of things, everyday things, your life will be richer. You said और कुछ ज़्यादा होगा नहीं होगा मुझे नहीं पता, your life will be richer, and I totally believe that has been the case. But help us understand the difference between art and craft and design. एक बात और कहना चाहूँगा यहाँ पे कि आर्ट और क्राफ्ट में तो डिफरेंस इंट्यूटिवली मुझे समझ में आता है
बताओ।
कि आर्ट इज, बताओ तुम कि क्या है।
नहीं, मैं वहीं से शुरू करूंगा जहाँ पे आप रुकते हो।
सो आर्ट इज गुड फॉर इट्स ओन सेक। आर्ट का कोई पर्पस नहीं है। इट्स समथिंग दैट रिमाइंड्स मी ऑफ कपिल गुप्ता। यू हर्ड ऑफ हिम?
बिल्कुल सही है आप जो कह रहे हो।
वैसे आपने कपिल गुप्ता के बारे में सुना है?
कपिल के सारे नाम वाले लोग मेरे दोस्त होते हैं।
इंक्लूडिंग कपिल अंकल।
Starting with
Amazing. I recently watched the 1983 Couple Uncle. He's done a good job, the actor. Anyway,
what we here for.
Huh?
What we here for.
Exactly. He's also done the accent very well. So for the uninitiated, we're talking about the great Kapil Dev. Coming back, Kapil Gupta is somebody who Naval Ravikant listens to, and like disciple ही हो गए एक तरीके से लगा लो. He seeks his advice. So he's a guru, sort of financial guru slash spiritual guru and all of that. He has a really awesome video, 7-8 minute video on the creation of pure art, and he talks about you don't create art, you let it happen. It's just something that comes through you. You're the medium and it just comes out of you. और जो आया है वो ये है देख लो. That's art for me. और शेरो शायरी की टर्म से भी अगर बात करेंगे तो आप मे बी यू हैविंग अ ड्रिंक और आपके एक ख्याल आया, आपने लिख लिया उसको, दैट्स प्रॉब्ली आर्ट. आपने सुबह उठ के उसको देखा कि इसमें बढ़िया तो है पर यार इम्प्रूव किया जा सकता है, तो फिर आपने उसमें फिर जो सुधार किया वो क्राफ्ट है.
नहीं, सो मेटाफोरिकली हम बोलते हैं द क्राफ्ट ऑफ राइटिंग. But so obviously art includes some kind of craft. Unless your art is entirely in your mind, everything involves some kind of craft. So craft is technique.
Right.
But art is exactly what you said. So it's something created for the purpose of self-expression in whatever way you want to express yourself. It could be aimed at society. It could be aimed at yourself. It could be aimed at, Qayamat, or it could be aimed at Allah or anything that you wished. But when I say craft, I mean something done for utility. And the lines may get blurred here and there, but I think it's pretty clear. So I think craft has existed ever since man started settling down away from hunter-gatherer existence into, settled dwellings or settlements, because that allowed after the development of agriculture. So it allowed specialization. I have a talk on this on Vimeo if you're interested.
I would love to watch it and link it in the show notes as well. Yeah.
So that created specialization. So craft is the person who improved the quality of your bartans or made better bows and arrows. So it starts from there, and including all sorts of things. Now, better can be in many ways, right?
Right.
Lasts longer, doesn't leak, takes less effort, looks beautiful, whatever. So there are 20 dimensions
of better. Yeah.
Better. So I would call this craft, and I would also call it design. Now, the way we use the word design in the modern world is tied up with means of production. So we don't call it design if you are going to make one bartan by hand and pass it on to you. We don't call it design. We could, but we don't. We call it design if you say that I can capture this design as a recipe and I can give it to you and you can make it. So this separation of the idea or the form from the physical thing. So the design of the bartan is different from the making of the bartan.
Not very clear. So why is handmade bartan done for a purpose? That's not design.
You can call it design, but I'm just saying that's how we have come to use the word now. Because we live in a world where a craftsman is not making bartans for you. A craftsman is operating a machine.
Correct. Yeah.
To make many bartans for many people whom he does not know, which will be bought, taken to the people he does not know by other people called tradesmen, who also give it to shopkeepers, who also give it to you, and you don't know the shopkeeper either. He might say, Sharma साहब कैसे हो, दौड़ वौड़ लगा रहे हो. but you may not.
Yeah.
So this is the modern conditions under which we practice design. When I say modern, I'm talking about what historians broadly call modernity.
Right.
I don't know, maybe 1700 or 1600 onwards. So the first typographers were kind of craftsmen. They were astoundingly good craftsmen because they were manufacturing type. But remember, they were manufacturing it. And eventually, the person drawing the type became different from the person making the type, and then casting the type, and then selling the type, and then using the type.
Right. Yeah.
So this activity is what we've come to call design.
Yeah.
In that sense, that progression of this process I have traced in the talk I'm talking. So there's a clear difference. On the other hand, there is an overlap of temperaments. When I do art, I cannot say that I am not some sort of an artist.
So I've heard this from you before.
Or that I am some sort of a scientist. Or I'm some sort of an engineer.
Okay.
Engineer is better than scientist.
I thought you were going to say all designers are artists, but not all artists are designers.
It's just a mode that you're in. Are you all podcasters are not runners? And I don't know what are you? Are you runner? Are you podcaster? You're all of these things, right? You're a father. You are a poet. You are all these things. Right? So
okay.
Why do you?
No, just the way, the manner in which art is approached and the manner in which design is.
So my father worked like a designer, and my father worked like an artist. 95% of his time he worked like an artist, but 5% of the time he thought like a designer, and he worked like a designer. He produced what you would call designed objects coming out of a studio or a practice.
Wonderful.
Mostly furniture, because the technology was something with which he was very familiar, wood.
So
especially.
So that definitely, so exposure was wonderful. Exposure to all of this was wonderful. Tell us some other aspects of your life in your early years, first or your second decade of life, maybe. How old were you when you featured in that movie? Annie Gives It Those Ones.
Oh gosh, I was 30.
30?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So what about
very close to it?
What about your teens and stuff? What were you doing?
Doing what other people do in their teens.
Okay.
Balasthavat krida saktah.
Kya baat hai?
Tarunasthavat taruni saktah.
Wow.
So बालावस्था में बालस्थावत क्रीडा खेलना सक्तः बच्चे को खेलना अच्छा लगता है. तरुणस्थावत जब आपकी यूथ है, तरुण, जब आप तरुणी सकता.
ओके.
अभी देखो वृद्धस्थावत चिंता मग्न. इतनी संस्कृत तुम समझ लोगे. परे ब्रह्मणि कोपी न सकता. But when the soul leaves the body, it likes nothing. It has no taste.
Wow.
It's beyond liking.
क्या बात है.
Or disliking.
मुझे लगा था मैं कविता सुनाऊंगा आपको. आपने तो मुझे हिला दिया.
ये तो शंकराचार्य.
अच्छा. एक मैंने और कई बार पॉडकास्ट पे सुना है. वो थी हर्ष नहीं,
नैनन नहीं स्नेह, तुलसी तहाँ न जाइए, जो कंचन बरसे में. वाह,
बेहतरीन सर, मजेदार. हाँ. सो बट वंडरफुल.
सो दैट हरखे नहीं.
हरखे नहीं.
हर्षे क्यों बोलेंगे आप?
हरखे क्यों? What? हर्ष इज
पुरानी हिंदी ना.
अच्छा. The way it's okay. ठीक है, childhood से.
So you want to know more about design? I trace it to my interest in typography, which I trace to my interest in calligraphy.
Please.
Which I trace to my interest in the italic hand, which I trace to my teacher, R.V. Ramanan, who died 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm very sorry I couldn't get in touch with him and tell him what he did. Ramanan taught us English, and he had been on a British Council exchange kind of program, and he went to England and trained as a teacher. And that was the time where England was very consciously reviving the italic hand.
Okay.
You're familiar with italics? I think most of your
Yeah.
listeners will be
टेढ़े वाली जो writing होती है.
टेढ़ी वाली. So टेढ़ी वाली जो राइटिंग होती है उसकी एक खास शैली भी होती है. मतलब टेढ़ी
Cursive.
होने के अलावा वो कर्सिव भी होती है.
हाँ.
कर्सिव मीन्स कनेक्टेड.
Okay. Oh, like okay, I understand.
Joint as they say.
हाँ. Designer सुन के सारे हंस रहे होंगे कि क्या चल रहा है, but हाँ.
नहीं, don't worry. महा अनपढ़ होते हैं. Don't.
अच्छा ठीक.
हाँ.
Okay.
So he learned the italic hand and then he came back to Rishi Valley, the school I was at, and वो इटैलिक का प्रचार करने लगे. तो कुछ लोग थे साउथ इंडिया में इटैलिक का प्रचार कर रहे थे. दक्षिण भारत इटैलिक प्रचार सभा एक तरीके से इनफॉर्मल मतलब असंगठित रूप में चल रही थी. So he propagated the italic hand in Rishi Valley and I was among his star shagirds and I learned to write italics, and in that process we needed an italic pen and we didn't have italic pens. So I sort of was one of the people who pioneered the technique of using a heavy pair of scissors to cut off the tip of an italic pen and get a flat edge.
First of all, what the heck is an italic pen?
Right. So a pen ends in a point.
Yeah, like
but
this.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the italic pen, or the pen used by most cultures for most of time, is not a point. It has a flat edge.
जो निब वाला पेन बोलते हैं जिसमें इंक डलती है अलग से, वो अलग.
इसमें भी तो अलग से इंक डलती है.
हाँ, but
वो जरूरी नहीं कि इंक कैसे आए.
अच्छा.
निब की शेप है, तो एक है ऐसी पॉइंट और एक है ऐसा पॉइंट.
ओके.
तो फ्लैट एज.
ओके.
तो इसमें आपको थिक एंड थिन आता है, एंड डिपेंडिंग ऑन द एंगल एट विच यू होल्ड इट,
ओके,
आपकी लेटर का आकार बदलता है. इट चेंजेस शेप. अगर आप देवनागरी को भी देखोगे तो देवनागरी ऑल्सो हैज बीन रिटन विद अ फ्लैट एज्ड टूल फॉर सेवरल 100 years. उसका जो पेन की जो मतलब धार जिस तरीके से वो सिट्स ऑन द पेपर, द एंगल एट विच दैट फ्लैट एज मीट्स द पेपर is contrary to the italic. So italic is like this and Devanagari is like this.
Wow.
So if you observe the letters in Devanagari, you'll see they're still made like that. So
Okay.
it comes from calligraphy, right?
Sure.
So these ideas became familiar to me by practice. And there is no faster way to learn about lettering than mucking about with a flat edge tool.
Okay.
So since then, I teach calligraphy to people.
Yeah.
And anybody is welcome in our office. I've taught several people, and I guarantee
Over
them.
several years, yes. I've seen you teach.
I've guaranteed them that if they stick with it, they'll become better calligraphers than I will.
Wow.
Which is not like I'm quite good, but I can make you better than me. You just practice more than me.
Wow. Okay.
The purpose is not to make you a calligrapher. The purpose is to get you to appreciate letter forms very quickly, the structure of letter forms, how they are constructed. So then you move from written letter forms to constructed letter forms. That's called type design. And that's something that I'm practicing now a lot of, because
we use it in projects and stuff.
Well, very occasionally, but no, it's mainly for my own amusement and because I'm obsessed with it. So it's through typography that I entered this thing called graphic design. And by the time I finished college, I was working as an illustrator, graphic designer, and
by the time you finished architecture college.
Architecture college, yes.
You were already working as a designer.
That's right.
Right. And that was in the 80s.
That's right.
Since we're talking about type design, the Aam Janta finds it hard to appreciate the differences between different typefaces and stuff.
Correct.
And then
we should be grateful that people can read.
Yeah, correct. But no. And then comes a rebranding of a big brand, and we hear that they've spent like 10 crores on this and whatever. And general people are like, ये कर दिया बस, इसके 10 crore हैं. So what's the exposure to the understanding of types is very little here in particular. budget. Even the clients don't have budgets for it. Yeah, which is why we don't see custom typefaces done for too many brands.
But you do see them for quite a few brands, right?
कोई दिल से कर दे तो कर दे, but type design के लिए budgets is not easy to like get paid for those, or is it?
Actually,
or it's changing.
Yes, I think it's changing with companies who have needs for Indian language typefaces.
Okay.
So there are several excellent firms doing that work and doing custom typefaces for brands that need to communicate in 10 Indian scripts. Bharat Sarkar should be leading that effort.
Yeah, should be leading that effort.
And this is a government that strongly believes in communication. In fact, I don't know that it is any good at anything else.
Yeah, correct.
So you would expect them to take it up.
Yeah, I should. For so, I because I pay attention to typefaces. Whenever I get to see a Hindi typeface really nicely done, or any other language,
and there are some excellent ones.
There are some amazing ones.
Yeah, and now it's become a trend to have super families. So if you have a design concept, then that concept spreads across not only all the European languages, which are based on the Latin script and its variations. So Latin scripts with lots of matras and bindus and which make up the other languages.
Right.
And then some other scripts like Cyrillic, which share some characters in common with the Latin script, similar shapes.
Yeah.
And then now in Devanagari and Tamil and Bangla.
Yeah.
So these are called super families.
Okay.
And people, they are marketed with the idea that you can invest in a super family and communicate in so many languages, or you can buy them separately. So things are changing. It's now feasible to make some sort of a living doing type design.
Okay.
I don't, because I haven't released anything commercially yet. Who knows? I might get there. But it just wasn't possible when I wanted to do it. And I was 30 years old.
Yeah, of course.
It was a different world.
It was a different world.
And in fact, that was the time when the whole thing was being born.
Yeah. The design industry.
I was the right guy at the wrong time. Yeah. No, the technology. Technology was being born at the time when my interest in it was peaking.
What would you call technology in this?
Well, the biggest change in technology is the production of digital type, right? So we began going digital type coming into the hands of designers. You could date it to approximately 1985. I'm 25 years old then.
Yeah.
Full of beans.
Yeah.
Full of lettering. And not really able to access this stuff. And if you were accessing it, I was able to in a few years, but I didn't know where to go or what to do. Or also, you are 30 and you are foolish. I mean, you're much, much more foolish than you are today.
For sure. At 40, you're wiser though. I just turned 40, so I'm feeling very wise.
Correct. So when you recognize that you are not wise, you will be wise.
Okay, architecture. You retired from architecture the day you graduated. That's how you put it.
I do.
Why did you do that? Because the interest was something else was pulling you towards it.
That's true. And then disillusionment with, I think, how it was taught. If my college experience had been everything that I had imagined it would be, I doubt that there would have been place for anything else.
What went wrong in college?
Nothing went wrong. I just don't think it was taught in a very... I keep feeling that our college taught us about architecture rather than
Not
taught
architecture.
us... Yeah, that's a feeling I have. I mean, this would be disputed by lots of my friends who became good architects and all of that. And I have no quarrel with them. That's why I'm qualifying. That's my experience. I'm not saying this is a universal truth of any kind.
Of course. My cousin Rajesh in Bangalore, based out of Bangalore, he started a podcast. I'm forgetting the name, but it's around. He's an architect, and it's a podcast with architects, and super interesting conversations. So architects are
architects are very clever people.
Yeah,
though you wouldn't know it if you looked around.
Why do you say that?
Well, drive through Gurgaon. Doesn't look very clever, does it?
In some presentation
I
or
could
some
say the
way.
same thing of graphic designers. So
Yeah, for sure. But at some point in some presentation or something, I've seen somewhere, your environment isn't innocent. Maybe in one of your articles, the environment isn't so innocent. It's designed and you don't realize. So this could be like, इसमें कितना deep में जाना हम जा सकते हैं? Like who's running the world? Because my mind is being influenced by so many things that I'm seeing, hearing in subtle nudges, subtle smaller ways, and I'm being given a direction, and I'm heading there, and I think I'm doing it. But it could be architects, designers. I'm just talking about that, but it could be pretty much everybody. The environment, entire environment design, whoever's involved in that. And that's all kinds of people.
well, I think
So, what did you mean when you say environment isn't innocent? Or do you remember saying it at all?
I don't remember saying it, but I'm happy to say it now.
Okay.
Let me say it. The environment isn't innocent.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, so the environment, when I make that sentence, it sounds like the environment is doing something and it has an agency.
But in some cases, it is doing something. For example, the food environment is directly like, आपकी लगा दी उसने.
Absolutely. So in that sense, the environment is created by kings. Like it
So
has
the
always
question
been.
then, like I said,
Who are
we
the
can get
kings?
into the weeds. Who's running the world? Is it
Kings.
America? Is it my local MLA? Or is it Modi ji? Or
It's
who's
kings.
it?
It's kings.
Who's kings?
So the kings are silent kings. And the kings are what you can call capital. The more and more I think about it, the more I think capital runs the world, and it runs the world through elected governments.
So king is the guy you never see.
Well, you do see it, but he's not officially in charge, right? And there are all kinds of kings. So there are information mafias, there are capital mafias, there are all sorts of things running the world, and there are all sorts of basically structures of power, which
I left ICT in 2014. That's till then every day I was meeting you. So between 2014 and 24, it's been a decade. And the change in the environment has also been significant. Technology in particular is very different. I remember like a few years ago only when TikTok was big in India. TikTok is still big worldwide. I was telling you on a message that it's cringe content and all of that stuff. But you were like, you said, I love TikTok. It's going to rule the world. That's what you said. Because it's a great format and it's going to at one point rule the world, that you said. I mean, Instagram instantly then launched Reels and everything. So which was a photo platform is now just a Reels platform. Things have changed. And so sorry, but the point that you were making here about ruling the world, age of information, misinformation, disinformation, वो सारा अभी जब से ये सब accessible हुए हैं tools हमें, तब से बहुत बढ़ चुका है. And it's ready to just catapult into the next stage.
Something simultaneously desirable and undesirable.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. How do you feel about it? How does it make you feel?
I think it's it's a type of consciousness that seems to be, frankly, the product of age. So you come to a certain age where your own aspirations, since you're in the self-help game, your own aspirations stop getting in the way of what you're thinking. And you come to an age where you kind of make peace with whatever your aspirations and achievements are.
Okay.
And when you make peace with that, suddenly you find that you can think. And you can think better. Because you're not burdened with protecting something, with defending something. And the more you go on, the less you're burdened with it until you are ready to die.
Yeah.
Remember, a deathbed confession is taken as evidence.
Yeah. Is it?
Of course.
Legally.
Dying words are presumed to be true.
Yeah.
Because I have no interest. I have no interest even in revenge.
Not legally though, like I'm pretty sure. Or is it?
something like that. Let's say it has far more legal weight than anything you say before that, even half an hour before that.
But how does one get to this stage? By just aging, you're saying?
Yeah, I think the age at which you start not letting your aspirations, especially your material aspirations, get in the way of what you're thinking. एक तरीके से आप जब बेचना बंद कर देते हो तो सोचना चालू करते हो, तो उसके पहले जो सोचना होता है वो एक टाइप का, मतलब जो सोचने वाला होता है, जो अपने आप को बुद्धिजीवी भी कहता है, unless he has decided to curtail his wants and has become hermit like. तो हर कोई, मतलब कोई ना कोई, I have a horse in the race, I have some vested interest, self protective, maybe very good vested interest. Okay, आपकी जीवनी लिखी जाएगी और छोटे बच्चे पढ़ेंगे, उससे प्रोत्साहित होंगे, लेकिन फिर भी आप कुछ ना कुछ एक बेच रहे हो. तो ये बेचना, जब उसका जो प्रेशर खत्म हो जाता है, तब आप फ्री हो ना, बच्चे की तरह, बट विद मोर नॉलेज देन द बच्चा. तभी आप सिलेक्टिव हो सकते हो एज टू व्हाट इज इट यू कंसिडर नॉलेज, क्या वर्थवाइल है, क्या वर्थलेस है. तो एक जर्नी है ये.
Amazing. But then how does, like, is there, can you share with us
7 stages of man. कविता पढ़ी है?
नहीं.
First
लाइब्रेरी देखी.
First there's the puking. हाँ. बच्चे से बूढ़े तक. First there's the puking and the mewling, and then complaining about one's schooling. Right? Then fucks, then fights, then judges chaps rights, becomes a judge and judges others, like I'm doing now. And eventually it's the slippers and the drooling. You're walking about your home and...
Legendary. Who's...
I've forgotten, but you'll find them. Put it in the show notes.
Okay.
The links in the show notes.
For sure. So we have to do that. Yeah.
I think you spend the early years of your life preparing to see what sort of uncle are you going to become. Are you going to become a WhatsApp uncle, or are you going to become a
WhatsApp uncle?
A troublemaker uncle, as I hope I will.
Really? How?
Well, I'd like to provoke you, right? I'd like to tell you to...
And what's a WhatsApp uncle?
WhatsApp uncles are the guys who spread... who spread bullshit about the glorious past of India because they don't realize that India was actually glorious. And they don't need to bullshit to show that. If you tell the facts about the past of India, it's glorious. Because they don't know that, they make up shit. You know WhatsApp uncles.
Yeah.
They run the universities called WhatsApp universities, and they're in your RWA, and they're...
I'm tempted to recite a poem right now. Should I do that?
No time like the present, Vipin.
बिना किसी दाया बाया राजनीति का किए हुए, लेफ्ट राइट को किए बिना, श्री राम के ऊपर कविता है ये. मेरी नहीं लिखी हुई है, किसी और की लिखी है, पर मुझे जो अच्छा लगता है वो मैं याद कर लेता हूँ. मैंने आपको कृष्ण की चेतावनी शायद कई साल पहले सुनाई थी, रश्मि रथी, रामधारी सिंह दिनकर की कविता. ये अभी मुंडे ने लिखी है, महाराष्ट्रियन गाय. एन अमेजिंग पोम. सो जब प्राण प्रतिष्ठा हो रही थी उस वक्त ये रिलीज हुई थी और काफ़ी वायरल हुई थी कविता. राम राम तो कह लोगे पर राम से दुख भी सहना होगा. पहली चुनौती ये होगी कि मर्यादा में रहना होगा. अब मर्यादा में रहना मतलब कुछ खास नहीं कर जाना है, बस त्याग को गले लगाना है और अहंकार जलाना है. अब अपने राम लला की खातिर इतना न कर पाओगे, अरे शबरी का झूठा खाओगे तो पुरुषोत्तम कहलाओगे. काम क्रोध के भीतर रहकर तुमको शीतल बनना होगा. बुद्ध भी जिसकी छांव में बैठे वैसा पीपल बनना होगा. बनना होगा ये सब कुछ और वो भी शून्य में रहकर प्यारे. तब समझोगे तुम कितने अद्भुत राम हमारे. एक बात कहूं अगर बुरा न मानो, नहीं तुम तुरंत ही क्रोधित हो जाते हो. पूरी बात तो सुनते भी नहीं, सीधे घर पर आ जाते हो. तुम लोगों के नाम जपों में पहले सा आराम नहीं. तुम लोगों के नाम जपों में पहले सा आराम नहीं. जबरदस्ती के जय श्री राम में सब कुछ है, बस राम नहीं.
Absolutely spectacular.
अघोर क्या है पता नहीं, इन्हें शिव जी का वरदान चाहिए, ब्रह्मचर्य का इल्म नहीं, इन्हें भक्त स्वरूप हनुमान चाहिए। भगवा क्या है पता, लहराना सबको होता है, भगवा क्या है वो जाने जो भगवा ओढ़ के सोता है। राम से मिलना, राम से मिलना, राम से मिलना है ना तुमको, निश्चित मंदिर जाना होगा, पर उससे पहले भीतर जा संग अपने राम को लाना होगा। जय सिया राम।
Absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Send it to me.
हाँ,
Put it in the show notes.
put it in the show notes for sure. And मैंने I probably butchered it. इसमें इतने सारी और hard hitting बातें हैं, तो I will definitely put it on the show notes. But आप जो कह रहे थे बात, वहीं से ये मुझे याद आया कि जरूरत नहीं है, कुछ असली चीज की समझ है नहीं हमें, पर हम बेचने में उसको लगे हुए हैं, झूठ बोल के, बना के, मैन्युफैक्चर करके. You didn't mean it in a religious way, I'm guessing though. But
Including. They're all burdens, right? They're all, I mean, the minute you say that you are separate from the rest of society in any manner, you are creating something which is eventually, in the final analysis, going to be false.
Yeah.
And yet you have to, because that's, we haven't found a practical way out of it. At least in my knowledge, most people have not.
So moving on, why don't you have an iPhone? You're a big Apple fan and you've never had an iPhone.
You don't remember? I gave it to you as an exercise.
What?
I use it to teach marketing.
Please teach us again. I mean, I'm sorry, I've
We
been a
did it.
terrible student.
We did it. I asked you this question, why don't I have an iPhone? I ought to have an iPhone.
Yeah, like you're the perfect candidate for.
So why am I the perfect candidate? As one of the first people to use
Exactly.
Macs in Delhi.
Yeah.
I've gone and, promoted Macs in Delhi. I've been associated with them.
You got
back in the
beautiful
90s.
big Macs in the office.
Sure, I do.
Since many years.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And we buy them like Sabzi now. So that's not a reason. Then the student says, it's cost. So let me tell you, that's not a reason.
Yeah.
Because I've bought iPhones for Lisa, for example. More than once. So that couldn't be the reason. Is it not the best phone? Then that is a wonderful segue into, is there such a thing as a best phone? Or is there such a thing as a best anything?
Wow.
That itself is a nice lesson in marketing. So once you get past that, no, I think it's a very good phone. It may even be the best phone if there's such a thing. So,
तो पहले आप ये बताओगे कि why do you have Macs? या
Why do I
पहले ये
have
बताओगे
Macs?
why don't you have an iPhone, and then tell
at
us.
the time I started doing design, they were way and out ahead of the competition in terms of not only as for doing design, but as general computers. So Macs were in modernity when computers were still in the dark ages. By dark ages, I mean you switched it on and you got a black screen.
Yeah.
And here you switched it on and you got a white screen.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right.
And
was that the only? No, of course.
they were just better computers at that time. This changed very dramatically. And over 20 years, I think the rest of the world caught up. Now, you can argue with how complete that catch-up has been and all of that. But let's face it, you have a very successful
brand.
Non-Apple world.
Okay.
And now I don't think that there's some great advantage. So you could say now it's historical and now it's preference for within the industry. My designers prefer them. And there's a preference in the industry for what are really very well made computers with very well designed, very thoughtfully made computers. And why would I not have them except for the fact that they cost a lot of money? And they cost that money in the context of a business, it isn't that much money.
Okay.
Employees cost me far more.
Okay.
Yep. We have employees who take home the equivalent of a Mac every month.
Yeah.
So that's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
And they continue to make excellent computers. If you try to make a computer with the same performance, the same display, the same everything, you will wind up spending has much or more than maybe a Mac. Just look at the display on a Mac. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So now the iPhone, when you exhaust all of these questions, what you eventually, I lead my colleague to realize that in the end, the reason I don't buy one is that I don't value phones that much. It's not that I don't value the iPhone.
Okay.
So it opens your mind. You think about in marketing, you call this the category. It's your category attitude.
Yeah.
Call it category if you want, but
another big thing that also doesn't convince you of sharing things easily and stuff like that.
I share stuff, no?
फोन से बैक में इजी एयर ड्रॉप नहीं है उसमें विंडोज
किसमें?
आपके OnePlus में.
तो OnePlus में क्या करूंगा मैं एयर ड्रॉप करने लायक?
अच्छा, you don't use it much.
I use the phone. I make
Just
great
for
use of it.
Okay.
No, I do everything.
Browsing.
Yeah, of course I have.
That's not everything.
I use Google services, right? And they work, right? So there's like AirDrop. There's nothing must have about those use cases. Okay. And these are very competent phones, Android phones.
Oh yeah, pretty good. I've used OnePlus.
They're very competent phones. It's not OnePlus. I'm talking about Android phones in general. They're very competent.
Even the computers you're saying.
And while I may be happier using an iPhone, I just don't value an iPhone that much. It's about what you value, right? So there isn't such a thing as affordable, unaffordable. These are things I tried to impart to you when you joined and you became the face of our business.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And so there's no such thing.
Wonderful, sir.
If I drop 1 lakh of rupees or 1.2 lakhs of rupees on an iPhone, people will say, "Bahut acha kiya. Good. Karna chahiye." If I tell you I dropped that sum of money on my coffee machine and grinder, you'll say,
Bhai
Sahab, shouldn't you be thinking about Kabir's education?
Yeah.
हाँ, आपको कुछ हो गया तो अभी तो आपके पास पैसे हैं, आपको कैंसर हो गया तो आप क्या करोगे? People start saying things like this.
Yeah.
Which will give me more pleasure? The coffee machine by a great distance. Coffee machine will be with me for 10 years, हंसते हंसते. ये iPhone 4 साल, 5 साल, लड़ झगड़ के. It's about what you value. What is it that gives you whatever it is that you consider worth doing in this life?
But like you said, the distance, the other computers, the other world, the non-Apple world has also caught up.
Oh, long ago.
The computer world as well.
Absolutely.
So now the reason for buying Macs would be?
Historical.
They still
Historical. My designers prefer them. And they have certain features like absolutely stunning displays. And they just work very well. And I don't care enough about the cost difference.
Because we initially, like even till 10-15 years ago, I think the distinguishing feature of Apple was adding delightful things that you wouldn't even like need maybe. कि जैसे iPad में अगर आपको
they still do. I mean,
better than others still.
Oh, much better. I mean, one of my youngest colleagues is now working on one of our newest computers. It's only a 19-inch monitor or something. It's not very big, but it's just a joy to look at it. And it's always the kids in our office who have all the best computers. And it's just a joy to look at.
How is it different from the other Macs that you have? It's the latest.
Yeah, it's
different looking. Like the
looking.
Physique of it is also different.
Yes.
Okay.
It's where you get joy from is what you're talking about. And there's no price for that. There's no way I can tell you. You can ask me, what's wrong with Nescafe? And it's also good coffee.
Yeah.
महंगी कॉफी खरीद लो. For the cost of your machine, आपको 4 घरों का
whatever, yeah.
You can do some bullshit calculation of that nature, right? These things are worthless.
But you value matters more.
Yeah.
Sure. जब हम ये बात कर ही रहे हैं तो फिर आईफोन क्यों नहीं ये बात कर ली, मैं आपको ये बता दूं कि हमारे रिश्ते खराब तब से होने लगे थे जब लीसा ने वैगनार ली थी, एस्टेलो या जो भी ली थी वो मुझे बिल्कुल समझ नहीं आया, इसलिए मैंने रिजाइन डाल दिया अगले
I
दिन।
quote you very often.
रेजिग्नेशन
I quote you very often. I began telling you some good things about a Wagoner that I was driving, and you said, "Please, sir, मेरे से Wagoner की अच्छाई मत करवाओ, sir, please."
नहीं होगा सर, नहीं हो पाएगा मुझसे। हाँ।
I remember describing a traffic incident, and not an accident, but some guy who backed onto a highway out of the blue, and you immediately piped up and said, "Wagoner होगा, sir, Wagoner."
बिकॉज आई डोंट नो, ये सच्चाई है, पता, दुनिया का सत्य है ये कि वैगनार्स नहीं होनी चाहिए दुनिया में।
Yeah.
आप कुछ भी खरीद लो, आपको मैं मतलब कुछ भी खरीद लो सर, कुछ भी। एनीवे, सो
Where do you stand
now
on breezers?
ब्रीजर्स तो मत पूछिए सर। यू नो दोस मीम्स वर सर्कुलेटेड ड्यूरिंग कोविड कि 5 घंटे की लाइन में खड़े होके ये ठेके पे और तू ब्रीजर खरीदा, उसको डंडे पड़ रहे पुलिस वाले से। Yeah, and Baileys similarly, but you like Baileys though?
No,
No?
no.
Okay. You touched upon a few things here when we were talking about iPhone. You mentioned we can talk about whether there's best of anything. वो क्या मतलब है उस बात का? And then marketing की भी बात कर रहे थे, तो मुझे marketing में भी discuss करना। What's your view on marketing? Because marketing this is evil. It's selling us things that we don't need. It's generating demands as well. From एक minimalism point of view से अगर आप देखोगे जिस तरह की जिंदगियां हुआ करती थी, I remember you using a beautiful slide in a presentation that said everything was better back when everything was worse.
I use this slide?
Yeah.
That sounds too clever.
In a presentation somewhere.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's you're going to ever kind of wind the clock back, and I don't think that's
Sure.
going to happen. I can
But
tell you.
marketing and the materialism and the wastage
So
and the way
the material world is what has created complex life, right? And it's never going to go back because we are big brain creatures, and therefore we are bandars. And bandars will always get up to bandargiri.
Bandars being exploited even more by
Other bandars.
by creating hooks of
Other
different
bandars.
kinds.
There's a tree. There's a bandar on the top of the tree, and there are bandars everywhere else. So big brain creatures are going to create distortions and horrible things in society, and the same society is very good at throwing up solutions.
Adapting.
No, throwing up solutions to repair that. It's a bit like your body. Somehow your body has evolved an immune system, for example. So it's a mystery how it evolved. But, you know, that you get a cold virus and something else starts off inside your body to attack that cold virus. And if that attack gets too powerful, a third thing starts off to attack the attacker.
Right.
So your body, just like the whole of society, right, its complexity makes sure that society is the source of its own problems and their solutions.
भगवान कहाँ है इसमें?
What?
प्रभु. Society is the source of all problems and all solutions.
Bhagwan is a term like luck for things we don't
understand.
It's the error term. A is equal to B plus C plus D plus an error term. So if there's an error term, you call it luck, you call it Bhagwan, and it gives people an emotional satisfaction. I envy people as an atheist. I envy people who
get emotional satisfaction out of this.
Yeah. So one more thing. Yeah. I get emotional satisfaction out of music. You know, I can shut my eyes and trance out and just be in another state. Poor you, you can't do that. But poor me, I can't get it from a puja or a bhajan. Well, musical part of the bhajan, yes. Religious part of the bhajan, no. I look at people
who go into a trance. My wife does, yeah.
I visited with Lisa the Sai Mandir. She wanted to visit, and like a good husband, I went behind her.
Yeah.
What I remember most is queuing up barefoot in a very slimy, slushy place, and I said, this is devotion. Nothing less than devotion would make me do that. But then eventually I got my feet clean and we wound up and sat down in this, what I call a Samsung. तो Samsung चालू हो गया.
Whoa, how is that a Samsung?
मतलब satsang with music, you know.
Okay, satsang with music. Okay.
Samsung. तो चालू हो गया. And I looked around me everywhere and जो लोग गा रहे थे उनकी आंखें बंद थी. वो ऐसे झूम रहे थे. मतलब अगर वो रॉक कॉन्सर्ट होता तो वो ये कर रहे होते. उसी मतलब वही एक क्या बोल रहे हैं, they were flowing with it, they were carried away by it. और मैं उनको देखकर I was moved.
And you also felt some not something woo woo.
No.
You also
I felt
some musical like you
I
do in a
felt
music
I felt
festival.
wow, look at all this. It's like if you see somebody with a certain mood, your mood changes, right?
For sure.
If you enter a room where people are crying about the death of a loved one, you sit there quietly for 15 minutes, you will feel bad.
For sure.
For a person you never knew.
Yeah.
Because you're watching others. So it's just that very simple effect of, let's call it an emotional contagion of some kind.
Yeah.
These are contagious.
Right.
So, होता है, then you start to appreciate कि नहीं यार ये एक बहुत powerful मतलब चीज है. Even if you consider it irrelevant, तो तुम्हारे लाइफ में कौन सी relevant चीज है? आप जिसको बोलते हो कि बहुत अच्छा है, whether it's coffee or it's design or it's whiskey or it's संगीत या कविता तुम्हारे केस में, तो उसमें क्या इतना मतलब how is that any worse or better?
Yeah. So कोई बुराई नहीं है.
Only difference is that at least religion, unlike religion, these things did not create through most of history wars to be fought or people to hate each other.
Yeah.
ये जरूर है. तो it's a nasha with some powerful society level side effects that we can do without.
Yeah.
But अगर ये नहीं है, तो क्या? How is what we have? We are not superior to anybody else.
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I agree with that point of view. Yeah. Marketing की बात कर रहे थे हम.
Marketing, sharketing.
Sharketing. हाँ.
So you think it's more about sharketing, right?
Yeah. or I don't know, because I'm trying to move towards a simpler life.
ये marketing से मैंने बहुत सीखा है.
हाँ. But at the same time, I do feel that there is
मार्केटिंग से सीखा है. मैंने नहीं बोला कि मैंने मार्केटिंग बहुत सीखा है. वो भी सीखा है.
हाँ.
लेकिन मैंने मार्केटिंग से बहुत सीखा है. I think the key thing is the concept called value. और वो क्या है value?
Teach us about value. What is it?
Teach us. अच्छा. Value is universal, right? I mean, you are creating value with this podcast. I'm getting some value by appearing on it. You are getting some value by having me appear on it. When your podcast is broadcast, you will create some value for a publisher, maybe YouTube, and people who see it will get a kind of value.
Right.
So the concept of value is what marketing is all about, and making you explicitly aware about different forms of value. Economic, emotional, and within emotional, 15 categories of it gives you a structure for looking at human beings, right? Looking at people. So it is also a point of view on life, like all disciplines are.
And value in marketing, like you also want to charge for value that you're creating.
That's exchanging one kind of value for another kind of value. So as a designer, as to keep saying designers should stop crying and learn to find the value in what they do and learn to communicate that value to others in language they can understand and not expect to be valued simply because you're a designer or you have a beard or whatever it is that your self-image is. So that consciousness being brought about with clarity and explicitness, something you knew being spelt out. So if you look at many kinds of learning, they're about things you already knew. The field of self-help is full of things you already know, right?
Yeah.
But its value lies in the fact that it is stated and that it is put into words
In a different way.
in a different way or in a better way.
And you've met it at the right time. So whether you act on it or not will depend on at what stage, where you are at.
Quite. But it's that forming of explicit knowledge from implicit knowledge. And there's a great difference.
Tell us more.
If you study learning, okay, so implicitly, what I know, I can't transmit. I can't teach you. I can only say, watch me and learn. But if I know something explicitly, I can teach it to you.
Okay.
So society has advanced by explicit learning, which is replicable, and which can be passed from one person to the other.
Wow. But implicit society has advanced, correct, through explicit knowledge. So education and various things that can be taught. But what about implicit knowledge that we have? Doesn't that get transmitted also through culture and through various other things?
It does, but nothing spreads it like it being explicit.
Yeah. But even so I was talking about Kapil Gupta in the beginning, and he says you can't teach. So he's against prescriptions. So he said you can't prescribe things and prescriptions are useless. That's what he believes. Unless it's something just you can mechanical or whatever, you can teach it and then move on. वो computer ये कुछ सीखना है कोई, you learn to operate a device or something.
Craft.
जहाँ पे बात आ गई कि for example being legendary at something, being great at something, so even if you learn from the best like Tiger Woods or Federer, you can go to them and talk to them and they'll tell you what they know, but even they do not know. Even if you did exactly as they did, you won't become them or as good.
But then you're talking about PFM, right? Power, fame and money.
No.
And power, fame and money वो वाला जो success होता है, that is not something that's coming from intrinsic
no. So no
alone.
I'm talking about not power, fame and money, but I'm talking about becoming as good as Federer at tennis.
Right.
So like you said, calligraphy mein, you will become better than me if I keep teaching, if you keep practicing.
Very quickly, I can make that come up.
So calligraphy, I don't know, could be that thing, but he's saying ये Tiger Woods जैसे आप नहीं बन सकते, Tiger Woods से भी सीख के, because even so artist वाली जो बात थी ना, that's what he was trying to sort of communicate that it's these are not so implicit knowledge. What you're saying, I think,
is valuable.
Is valuable.
But I'm saying
it's
that
not transmissible.
Yes, it's got a limitation to how much you can transmit it. Now, on the other hand, thousands of people have become golfers through explicit knowledge.
Of course.
Right?
So you can become pretty good at anything pretty much. Pretty good level tak to aap pahunch hi jaoge. Going beyond that is something where
the personal journey happens. And that personal journey is a mix of circumstances. It's also a mix of the passage of time. So you can't learn at 60 what you could learn at 20. You're not the same person.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So there are certain things that are not reversible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is something that's not often understood sufficiently. So it is because of those non-reversible things that you will not be Tiger Woods. It's not that you can't learn to hit a ball or something like that. So Tiger Woods didn't merely learn to hit a ball. He learned to
control his mind in a certain way.
Yes, and he learned how to motivate himself and 6 other things of that nature. Yeah. All of which happened to him. as a result of as much a sort of set of circumstances which are unrepeatable even for Tiger Woods.
Correct.
So even Tiger Woods can't become like Tiger Woods even if he learns from Tiger Woods.
Precisely, that's what he said. Precisely, yeah.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said as well.
I must have slipped it to him at some point.
So
but then he became famous for all the wrong reasons. And when minute that happened to him, so his golf game went away.
Yeah. So I've done a podcast with my Mosaji, my uncle, who's Indian women's volleyball team coach. He works for Sai in Gujarat. And so he had a couple of conversations about the motor skills and stuff. So like you're saying, you can't go back in time in certain age. तो motor skills वगैरह जो सिखानी है ना बच्चे को वो तो 7 साल की उम्र तक ही सिखानी है. Then we talked about psychological aspect of performance. He says बच्चे बहुत talented आते हैं आपको, लेकिन जो skill चाहिए ना ओलंपिक लेवल की भी मिल जाएगी आपको कहीं पे भी. आपको इतने बच्चे मिल जाएंगे उस लेवल के जो है. But the translation into medals will happen here. It's a psychological.
This is not just there. There it is what I'm calling PFM aspects. Power, fame, money. So it's not. So if you take power, fame, money as winning a medal, that is controlled by many things outside your body and mind.
Situation at home, access to money, access to training, time. You may be talented and you have the body.
Gatekeepers within the industry or profession.
Yes.
The people who decide whether you will get coaching or not.
Whether Vinesh Fogart will get the category she wants or not.
In time,
yeah.
Whether she'll be told the decision about her trial. I mean, it's a tricky thing.
Yeah.
But what I mean is that every field has gatekeepers, right? So let's say you're doing academics. So you can't say, this is my brilliant discovery and I think it's brilliant. No. Somebody else has to think it's brilliant. And somebody else thinks it's brilliant because you use the same terms of reference that everybody is playing with.
Yeah.
If you don't, you will be considered ahead of your times or before your times or a fool or something.
Yeah.
So the point about gatekeepers in every field with the best of intentions, the best of results very often. So they exist. So these things they are not reversible.
And often, like sometimes, and not in your control. Not all of them.
Yeah, no, there's human experience is not reversible.
It's not.
You can't unexperience things.
You can't. It also reminds me of another thing that you could 3-4 साल ही थे पर वो स्प्रिंट सी लग रही है मुझे अपनी. अगर मेरा जीवन मान लीजिए 70-80 साल चलेगा तो लग रहा है कि वो आईसीडी में 4 साल ना वो स्प्रिंट थे. वो काफी देयर इज अ लॉट दैट आई retained from them, from that period. आपने ये भी एक बार बोला था, the course of your life will actually be determined more less by what you do and more by things that are outside your control. अब उसमें मैंने
people you meet,
things that happen to you,
yeah.
Things that will change the world. And at that time I asked you, give me an example, and you said maybe things like 9/11. मैं समझ नहीं पा रहा था कि क्या ही फर्क पड़ रहा है मेरी जिंदगी पे. But you know that, and then COVID happened very
so
recently.
The people I met, they made me who I am.
Yeah. And you stumbled upon them, some of them.
Stumbled upon them. And
what about the environment that you were born in? Like you stumbled upon that environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the way I look at this is that there are a series of lotteries, okay, in which the prize is a ticket to the next lottery. So you don't get a cash prize. You get a ticket to play another lottery, which gives you the ticket to play another lottery.
Wow.
Okay. So if I have grown up in certain fortunate circumstances, which are also unfortunate, by the way, in other ways, I get a chance to do things that you didn't get. Okay. So without cheating, I'm just ahead of you. Now, which stream I will take will determine the course of my life. And there are thousands of such streams available. If you want to understand this, It's raining these days. So drive your car out, and when it's raining, try to get under a street light and watch the droplets forming on your screen. You see some of them join and they become bigger droplets, and they join something from somewhere else, and some of them don't and sit there, and some of them wait till another big droplet comes and washes them all out. And the whole thing as a group, it's predictable what will happen. But an individual droplet is not predictable.
Wow.
So you can't tell me which droplet stream you are part of. But the fact is that you move down the windscreen because of another droplet falling somewhere. So there are these successive lotteries, which if you get right in a certain order, you will have a great payoff at the end. However, that great payoff may not be the same as another person's great payoff. Can't be measured in money. It may be measured in something else. Pixels in my case. I have lots of pixels. Okay. I have lots of laughs. Lots of coffee. I can't tell you what shape it will take. But it will take some shape, and eventually all that water is going to come from the top of the windscreen to the bottom of your windscreen. Now, individually, each of the water droplets will have vastly different fortunes. Together, they will have a fairly predictable fortune, right? So there's going to be this crazy distribution.
The world on a windscreen. Aapne bana.
Right. So lotteries are tremendously important. And each one of us is playing in a lottery. We just think that we've done it all, but we haven't. Actually, some circumstances have made that happen. Why am I not doing this podcast? It's a lottery. Some set of circumstances made it happen that you are doing this podcast and I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing this podcast and talking to you instead. So we can't get down to that level. Okay, I'll tell it to you in a simpler way.
Although it's understood.
Let's take, suppose I tell you that India are 110 for 1. Are we doing well? 110 for 3, let's say. How are we doing?
How many overs?
30 overs, and it's a test match.
It's a test match. Now, I need to know, ये 3 विकेटें अभी गिरी हैं या?
See, you're a brilliant fellow. Most people wouldn't ask that question. If we were 0 for 3 and we got to 110 for 3,
right, then
it's a very different match than if we were 105 for 0 and we are now 110 for 3.
Yeah.
So the score doesn't capture what's going on. Okay?
Yeah.
So there is a set of events that one wicket led to another wicket, led to another wicket, or it didn't. One wicket led to a stand, and then the stand led to something else. It's that order in which things happen that will determine what the outcome is, and not the total number of things that will happen.
Yeah.
So I can't say a cake is made up of atta, heat, sugar, milk, butter, anda, and say that I can put them in any order and I'll get cake. But we think life is like that. We think, आपको ये inputs मिले तो आपको ये होना ही है. नहीं भाई, आप ब्रेड बन सकते हो, आप केक बन सकते हो, आप कुकी बन सकते हो, आप जल के खाक हो सकते हो, आप एक inedible mess बन सकते हो, आप सड़ के मर सकते हो. ये सारे outcomes possible है with heat, अंडा, butter, मैदा वगैरह. It's the order.
Yeah.
Like it's when those wickets fell.
Amazing. I love that.
It's not reproducible. Let's say I left Ireland and I moved to America to found a new country because there was potato famines. Now life was really shit in America for the guys who came there.
Yeah.
They were struggling. They got along by shooting a few of the local natives and bullying the fuck out of them. They got somewhere. Now imagine things improved in Ireland. So should these guys get up from America and go back to Ireland?
They should try and improve the situation where they are.
Whatever you think they should do, they won't do that. They are no longer the same people who left Ireland. You may think they should, you may think they shouldn't, you may write an argument in one form or the other. They aren't going to do that because that experience
has taught them, made them a different
and that
person.
can't be unexperienced.
The river analogy.
So therefore, it's the passage of time and the things that happen to you along the way. Looks a lot like chance. But actually, chance is just a term for things we don't understand. If I knew everything about the droplets on the screen, the starting condition in detail of every droplet and all the forces acting on it, yeah, I could write a computer program.
Brilliant, sir. You mentioned pixels also. I remembered somebody.
I have lots of them, yeah.
What do you mean you have lots of pixels?
Well, that's all I have, right? I have computers and images.
Yeah. So that's what somebody said.
It's a joke. It's called
the...
a joke.
अच्छा. It's a designer joke हो गई. आपको नहीं पता. आपको नहीं पता. आम आदमी भी होते हैं. But I was saying, someone said all the experiences that we have in life may feel insignificant in one way or the other. Every tiny little thing that you consume in terms of knowledge or whatever you watch or listen or meet, somebody you meet is like a little pixel. और वो उस दिन नहीं पता लगेगा क्या है ये, and then sometime later in your life, the picture will begin to form. It's made of those small pixels.
Yeah, but that's an illusion, right? The picture is made by you looking back. And it's a story.
It's a story.
Like I told you the story about my childhood and about my school and all that because it suits me to think about it that way. It helps create an interesting picture about myself. Largely driven by my sense of self.
And the first time
what you call your ego. It's determining what that story is. I'm painting this lovely thing because it makes sense.
And they say first time you remember what happened, like try to recall whatever parts of what happened. Let's say you're trying to remember an experience or your childhood or whatever you're trying to remember. First time, you of course don't retain everything. You retain parts of it, right? Wo kar liya, and then you told the experience to somebody. The next time, you're remembering the telling of the experience.
Yeah, of course. Of course. But let's say I hadn't told it. I have told it before and I've told it like this.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not fresh. I agree. But let's say the first time I told it, I'm constructing something based on my storytelling skills. It doesn't mean I've fabricated anything or spoken any falsehoods, but I have connected up those things which I choose to connect up to tell you a story that's going to make sense to you.
Wow.
It isn't the truth. None of it is a lie. But that's different from saying it's the truth. It's just a view of the truth. It's a pictures post-created, right? Pictures are man-made things.
Yeah.
Nature don't got no pictures. Nature don't got anything. But this concept of things happening in a sequence is very important, underappreciated. Suppose I catch a cobbler and I give him 10 lakh rupees when he's 15 years old. वो क्या कर देगा? Let's say I give that same 10 lakh rupees to the same cobbler who's 45 years old. वो क्या कर देगा? So vastly different things will happen to them, right? Completely different things will happen.
Assuming the 45-year-old is not a drug addict.
No. Assume they are the same person, 45 years old.
Yeah.
He is changed in a number of ways. And now you do this with 1,000 cobblers. Some of whom are drug addicts and some of whom are not. They're brilliant guys. I give them all 45 lakhs. And instead of which I could have given them those at the age of 10. What would their lives have been? Completely different. 10 lakhs plus somebody I met changed my life. At 45, I got 10 lakhs and I met somebody, the same guy, didn't change my life. Because the cake got baked and I can't unbake the cake. If you think about your future like this, you'll understand a lot of things. Here's an example from a book by Abhishek Banerjee. It's called Poor Economics, a Nobel Prize winner some years ago. Abhijit Banerjee, sorry.
Abhijit.
So he asked this question of, everyone knows that education is your fastest way out of poverty, and it will do the most to increase your livelihood, your prospects, your potential in life. Everything hangs on education. You know it intuitively. We know it from experience.
That's what we believe as well.
कोई deny नहीं करता. गांव-गांव में हर कोई जानता है. So even if you provide free schooling, so kids, people don't send their kids to school.
Because it doesn't get value. Because free schooling. Why don't they send?
That's a rich man's point of view.
Achha.
Whatever is free is not valued. These poor bastards don't understand the value of it. कितने गधे हैं हम, कितने अच्छे हमको पैसे दे रहे हैं. ये अमीर आदमी का चूतियापा है. ऐसे वर्ड्स अलाउड है पॉडकास्ट में?
बिल्कुल अलाउड है.
अच्छा ठीक. तो he doesn't do it. तो वो एक हम सोच सकते हैं कि ये बेवकूफ है, ये इर्रेशनल है, कि जानते हुए नहीं करता है. जैसे कि people know smoking is bad for them and they keep smoking. ठीक है, तो उसका भी हम अभी तोड़ निकालते हैं, बट पहले ये वाला देखते हैं. क्योंकि ये बहुत ये नो ब्रेनर है, राइट? तो इसमें आप लगाइए ब्रेन्स. अगर नो ब्रेनर है, क्यों नहीं भेज रहा है स्कूल को? तो अगर मैं ये लॉटरी वाली थियोरी लगाऊं, तो if he sent his kid to school for 6 years, the number of lotteries into which he could join, let's say by a lottery, he found a good teacher and he did decently in his exams and he got into a good college and he met somebody else there because he was bright and he got into a good group of friends and he did well in college. And then something happened and he became, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay?
A startup founder who made it big.
Whatever. So this is one track that it could have taken. It could have taken many tracks. He could have wound up as a lower division clerk in a government job. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So 100 things could have happened. He could have become a drug addict. That's also possible. Yeah. So with all these things, the lottery you get to play is significantly better. This man should take that lottery. It's much better lotteries than the lotteries he's going to win out here. Because in a life close to nature, nothing much changes. Things close to nature don't change. Okay. You haven't changed. Physical body of Vipin Sharma like people for the last 40,000 years. It's the same. Nothing much changes. And you're also at the mercy of nature. So if your crop does well, you do well. If your crop doesn't well, you don't do well. It's much better to go to school. It doesn't go to school. Now,
so just things close to nature don't change.
Therefore, doing a life in agriculture is going to give him predictable but shit outcomes.
But things close to nature...
Going to school is a much better deal with all the risks.
Okay. Yeah, of course. No, it is. But I'm just saying, close to nature में मेरे दिमाग में athlete आ रहा है शाश्वत, जो बैंगलोर छोड़ के वहाँ मनाली शिफ्ट हुआ है, ट्रेनिंग कर रहा है, is training for India and representing India, struggling big time with money and economics.
Manali, despite all the screw-ups that have happened to the built environment, still offers things in natural terms to Shashwat. It offers altitude, it offers cleaner air, it offers better water, it offers blah, 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 blah. Hasn't changed. The thing isn't going to change very much. Slow change. Right. Agriculture is bad.
मेरे मतलब nature में things close to nature, humans close to nature change. So that's the biggest thing that will change. Like you will change.
But his body hasn't changed, which is why he's still able to take advantage of Manali even after it has been overbuilt with 3,000 crappy hotels with cable TV and free Wi-Fi. Okay. Yeah. So now come back to this guy who's not sending his kid to school.
Sure.
Here's how he might reason. You know, on the way to school, he could get bitten by a snake and die. Or not even on the way to school. In the fields, he could get bitten by a snake and die. He's in a sufficiently remote village, he won't get to anti-venom very fast. And die. So, if that happens, his investment in schooling, either he's paid for schooling or he's suffered a loss in income of a young man, young boy, not able to work the fields, and that's also a payment of a kind.
Sure.
तो वो तो गया ना पानी में before I could realize it. तो मेरे results, when I get my chance to play the next lottery, 6-7 साल बाद आएंगे. तब तक मैं एक कौड़ी का रिजल्ट नहीं देखूंगा, और उस वक्त कुछ हो गया तो मेरा इन्वेस्टमेंट गया पानी में. So the only people who can do the sensible thing of sending the kid to school are people who have a safety net in the first place. For you, it's absolutely rational. You can protect your kid from snake bites. And कुछ भी हुआ ना, even if your kid misses a year at school, तुम्हें कुछ नहीं फर्क पड़ेगा. After 1 year, rejoin school. You'll just be a year older. कुछ नहीं हुआ. Your financial security will not be threatened by this kid going to school or not being able to go to school or any accident that happens. Whereas this other guy's case, I've just played this 6-year lottery and lost. So I cannot afford to lose that. So the person who is in that economic condition cannot take the same decisions as you take, and he's completely rational for doing that.
Makes sense.
If you understand it that way, then suddenly it makes this some seemingly irrational action makes a kind of sense. He says, what if he doesn't finish the next 6 years? What happens to my investment then? Of course, I'll protect him my snake bites. I'll teach him everything that he needs to know. But then he's better off with me in the fields, right? मेरे सामने है. स्कूल का तो किसी दिन जाके कुछ होगा तो. Why should I bet on that? Would you bet 5 rupees on a lottery ticket? You might have some fancy reason for not betting it because of, something about probability and all that. But if I told you, Vicky, please, 500 rupiya lottery ticket, bet kar le. Imagine a guy who only has $1,000. Should he bet $500 on a lottery ticket? Sure, no. So the decisions are very different in both those cases, right? So the guy in the village can't afford to do the thing that's in his self-interests. That's why you need safety nets. So that people can be in a position where rational decisions are possible, or the ones that you consider rational and in the end are rational, like education, are possible. So once this guy goes to school and he has kids, it'll be a no-brainer for him to send his kids to school, even if he's staying in that village, because he has more money.
Because he has more money, not because he's wiser.
Now it makes sense. He was wise both times. It now makes sense for him to send his child to school. The risks are very low. The benefits are very large. It's like the guy with the 500 rupee lottery ticket. The beggar puts $500 on a lottery ticket. It may change his life. But 99.999% what's going to happen is he's going to starve. Not going to change his life. For you, makes no difference. I feel like buying a lottery ticket, buy a lottery ticket. So because of that order in which the cake is baked, because of the fact that the fall of wickets matters as much as the score, because of the fact that I am entering a lottery which is going to take 6 years to pay off, and factors of that nature, because of the fact that what caused me to move from Bombay to Delhi is the inverse of that cause is not going to make me go back from Delhi to Bombay. Because the cake is half-baked. And that's irreversible. Once you get this, you can look forward in peace.
Wow. Need some sinking in. This way of thinking.
We can do it again.
No. I will have this on repeat. I will watch it multiple times. And I'm sure so will my audience.
The order in which, the basic idea is the order in which you do things might matter more than the things that you do on average.
And that order also has luck element in it, because you may not be able to always.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
And you just accept that. And if you don't, then turn to religion maybe.
Let's take a simpler lottery that's often used to explain this idea.
Mm-hmm.
I flip a coin and I tell you that I'll pay you, $2 if you win for 1 rupee, but you'll only lose 50 paisa if you lose. It's a good bet, right?
Huh.
On average, it's a good bet.
Yeah.
Go on taking it. Probability is 1 in 2.
Yeah.
Every time you win, 2 rupees. Every time you lose, 1 rupee gone. So you're much better off. Only thing is, I make a condition that whatever you win, you must bet on your next bet. Say, fine. I'll keep betting. And if I do this often enough times, say using a computer, I could probably make $1 million by morning, right?
Yeah.
Keep taking the same bet, win some, lose some, I'll keep multiplying.
Yeah.
Except when you do this in real life situations and it's been tested using probabilistic methods, doing what are called Monte Carlo simulations, right? So hundreds of random, you will find that most of the time you wind up losing.
Yeah.
And some of the time you end up winning very big. Surprising. Now, if you take 1,000 such people and get them all to play the same game, on average, all those 1,000 people are going to make money. The group of 1,000, if they were all belonging to one family, the family would be richer.
And that's the house.
Just like the water droplets. On average, I can tell you what's happening to the water droplets. That I can't tell you about an individual droplet.
Right.
However, in this group of 1,000 people, a vast majority will lose money.
Correct. Yeah.
Some of them will lose so much money, they will not be able to repay it in their lives.
Yeah.
Some will lose unspectacular sum of money.
Yeah.
A small number will make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Enough to cover the losses of everybody else. So the group on average has gained. But the individuals in the group, most of them have lost money.
Damn, I thought you were talking about casino, but you're talking about the country.
I'm talking about anyone's life. Yeah. So it all depends on the sequence in which my winnings and losses came. If I got 3 wins in a row, it would be a very different outcome than if I got win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Yeah. Let's say I got loss, 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 win, 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 win. Whoom. I'm in a totally different situation than if I was win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss.
Which is why in cricket also
life's lotteries are like this. The money goes to the person who already has some. The education goes to the person who's wealthier. I can send my kids to school.
Yeah.
My maid can't send her kids to school that easily. It's not the availability of a school. She just can't. There's 28 reasons.
Yeah.
Those kids are not dumb. Those kids have access to a school. They go to school. They can't finish school. They're not rich enough.
They don't have the environment and whatever
various other lotteries.
Exposure to
some
stuff.
Kids will win that lottery also.
वो जो वही बोलते हैं ना
and win and then get to play the college lottery.
Yeah. And I think the biggest indicator of whether you will be wealthy or not is your zip code, not anything else.
Yeah, or the last lottery you won.
And
whether you're on a hot streak. Maybe some of them will win the marriage lottery.
So then, a lot of this is not in your control. What's the best way to then keep your mental... So you accept this, like you said. Once you accept...
2 is you can increase your chances.
By being in those places.
Living in cities is one way. That's why cities have been successful. I saw this morning some influencer type life coach like you.
Like me, I'm not a life coach. No.
All right. I feel more kindly towards you now.
Thank you, sir.
telling people that they should consider moving to small towns because the air is cleaner, there's less stress in life, it costs less, etc. And then they can pursue their trade from there and everything will work out, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds very rational.
Yeah.
But what we see is people moving to
Cities.
Now you have two choices. You can say people are stupid and this guy is smart. Or you can say, wait, people are smart and they know something he doesn't know. And the truth is, I believe people are smart. They come to cities and live in shit places because the chances of something good happening to them, a lottery, is much higher in the city. So people gang up for that reason. They hope to be one of those water droplets that collects more of the water droplets, that reaches the bottom of the windscreen faster.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Water droplet theory and cake baking.
Yeah.
And the score. These are all the things you need to remember.
Absolutely.
It's the order in which things happen.
Wonderful then. So, zooming in, zooming out.
आपका केक खराब हो गया.
कौन सा केक?
आपका केक खराब हो गया.
हाँ.
चीनी कम रह गई. कोई बात नहीं, ये ले चीनी.
नहीं डाल सकता.
खा ले. थोड़ा केक खा, थोड़ा
चीनी खा ले.
Come on average it's the same, na?
Yeah.
So life works out like that. Life works out like is much closer to baking cakes than a spreadsheet type calculation.
Amazing. Wonderful way to look at this. Brilliant. I mean, I've spent some time with you and I've seen you work on on things, proposals and design, of course. You have attention to detail और ये सब तो बहुत basic है. ये तो आपकी culture में ये शायद सभी के पास होगा. Typo, the dog that we used to have in the office, probably उसके पास भी ये skill होगी. लेकिन one is caring. जो मैं देख रहा हूँ, मतलब of course knowledge में भी difference है. The amount of exposure you have to things is much wider and you are able to see problems in what's on the screen. And here I am looking at it and I'm like, this document is now perfect. With the last change that you've just made, I don't think anything better can be done. And you're like, you spend more and more time on that. So you care so deeply about this. So
it's called being a loser.
Really? So what I wanted to know was zooming in so much that you die for it. कि भैया ये तो you're not going to छोड़ोगे नहीं आप उससे. And at the same time, zooming out enough to like not अपना पूरा वर्चस्व उसी पे नहीं डाल देना कि जी if this didn't turn out to be as well as you wanted it to be,
it's okay. It's okay, right? That's what it's true. It's okay. I think I would owe my entire relative lack of success to
lack of success.
Relative. I could have been something much better. It comes from caring about the wrong things and not having the wisdom to know which things really matter and which things don't. And everybody is going to be like that in different ways in different spheres.
And even now that you know better for yourself. That may not be like transmissible or certain things are.
It's transmissible.
So please tell us then, what are the wrong things that you cared about?
The things you pointed out. For example,
attention to detail is a great thing.
No, so but you can take it too far.
There's a trade-off.
You can lose perspective. It's not a trade-off. You can lose perspective. You can wind up complicating things that aren't complicated. I think I've done that. I continue to do that. I make the simple things quite complicated. And there's richness in seeing them in that complicated way.
I thought that was a feature, not a bug.
But it could be a bug, right? It just depends on context. No human trait is worthwhile by itself. In practical matters, there may be human traits that are good for spiritual matters, but in practical matters, no human trait is worthwhile by itself.
Why do you say that?
Human traits are worthwhile in context. That attention to detail is life-saving or life-threatening, depending on context.
Right.
So, innate skills are often a drawback for the people who own them because they can never turn them off.
Yeah.
Learned skills may be less good, but they can be turned on and turned off. Advantage.
So true.
There's a rider in charge, whereas with innate skills, there's no rider in charge. There's a horse,
Yeah.
no rider.
Yeah. Something else controlling you. You're being driven.
You just are.
You just are. Yeah.
You're the drop on the windshield. You just are.
We've used the word lottery quite a few times, and I wanted to also ask you, what does money mean to you? So if you won a lottery today, what would you do with the money and with the time?
Whatever I do with that money would be the truth, and whatever I tell you now will be a lie.
So true. But what do you think you'll do?
What is the lie I want to tell you?
Yeah.
It depends on the size of that money.
Of that money.
If it's
so let's say it's big enough, whatever that enough is for you.
Give me 10,000 crores, I'll change India. Give me 1 crore, I'll change my life.
Depends on the amount entirely.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. So let's say 10 crores.
To make it interesting, you'll have to give me some condition like you'll have to spend it within a month or something like that.
No, but how do you see,
boring things. I'll probably wind up doing things like putting the money away in savings so that I can better provide for my kids, which I'm, not providing for very well. And I don't mind, by the way.
Why do you not mind?
It's okay. People will look after themselves.
Achha.
I think if I enable people with capability, people will look after themselves.
Nice.
If I make them strong human beings, they will look after themselves.
Wonderful. What are the ways in which you're making them a strong human being? Sorry. I forgot about...
Curiosity. I encourage my children, I think, to be curious, to take interest in things.
Day one in ICD. That's the walk that we took, and that's what you told me as well.
Curiosity. Yeah. To be a nice person, to be open, to have humanity, to look at things from different points of view, to
hold opposing points of view and still function.
That famous quote.
It's a quote. I thought it's yours. It's yours, I thought.
No. It's a famous quote.
Okay.
The quality of a first-rate mind is to be able to entertain two opposing ideas and still function. I forget who that is, though.
Okay.
It's in the show notes.
Okay.
All right. I think I would like people to develop, what I talk about a lot these days is some kind of critical thinking ability. The ability to learn things and not totally believe them. The ability to hold beliefs in suspension. The ability to experiment with those things in your life and learn from them, including to be open to chance, because otherwise you may not pick up the lottery ticket. You may be like the person who went to the Gurdwara every day and said, Vaheguru. It's an old joke, right? Meri lottery laga de, Vaheguru. Meri lottery laga de, coming every week. And then after about a year, the thing to which he is praying can't bear it anymore and says, Khoteya ticket tela le. So if you're not open to things, shayad tusi ticket na lo.
Yeah.
तो वो जो openness है, वो एक acceptance and openness and curiosity. I think these people tend to do well and they provide for themselves.
For sure. Give me some examples. In what ways do you teach them? Can you so Kabir leading up to 12 now is 12 now.
Yeah.
In 12 सालों
I help him if I'm helping him with his homework. I would like to relate his homework to what he's going through in his life in front of him, or to take up a real life example, or to take up a practical thing and say, have you thought about this? Why doesn't this work in the way it's supposed to work? We're learning something in science, maybe.
Like what? Anything comes to mind?
Sure. The other day we were having a discussion on clouds and said, what do you think would happen if you flew through a cloud? And if they consist entirely of water vapor, are we going to get wet if we go through them? So I think just starting to talk about things like this. Or we were learning about atoms and their outer orbits, and we are able to predict what's going to happen to the atoms based on the number of electrons in their outer orbits. And then you find, as you go down that periodic table, that no, they don't behave like that. And I said, I'm very puzzled. I don't know why it doesn't. It had better. So it's no point then saying, oh, it just doesn't. Let me just learn that and go ahead. No, stop and ask, why doesn't it? Park it for later, saying, I don't know this.
Okay.
I've got to come back. This had better make sense.
Yeah.
Now, if you have that instinct, you're going to learn more. If you learn more, you're open for more lotteries. Remember, every lottery, the payoff is a choice of tickets to other lotteries.
Wow. Amazing.
Imagine a social club which you couldn't join unless you were part of another social club.
So tell me, my daughter's 3 now. So I'm also curious about when he was younger. What were the sort of things? What was this educational process like? Educational, yeah, exposure
No,
process.
I'm not
or
saying it's
whatever.
working. I'm just saying
What you do. That's what I want to know.
Try to do.
Yeah.
I don't make a claim that I'm doing it.
I'm sure. But
yeah. Or if I'm.
What would you like to do or like to have done?
I found that when Kabir was following cricket like a maniac, he had mastered percentages.
Yeah.
Long before they had ever been mentioned or taught. He had figured out decimals and percentages simply from following cricket. Because if you follow one-day cricket or T20, it's kind of an arithmetic game.
Wow. How?
Yeah. So you can work out strike rates. You start working out fractions and percentages before you're taught them. You instinctively learn that.
Got it.
Yeah. So if you keep doing this, you keep looking for opportunities to do this and ask questions. And if education is structured like that, it becomes considerably richer.
I learned English through cricket commentary.
There you go.
All of it.
There you go. So you learn things when you are emotionally ready to learn them, when you are aroused.
Yeah.
Arousal is the great teacher. So if you can do arousal,
you've done the job.
To see great ho.
Yeah.
Which thing will get picked up? Don't bother.
उस पे आपका
ज़्यादा कंट्रोल नहीं है. Don't bother. वो कोई ना कोई ड्रॉपलेट पकड़ लेगी.
Yes.
Just wait for it to rain. Park your car under a traffic light and watch the water.
I will now. I just hope the raining season.
By the way, if the light comes through, you'll see the water droplets running over your body. And it's a very wonderful, eerie feeling.
Wow.
You will feel कि तुम्हें कोई ऐसे उंगलियों से ऐसे उसका क्या वर्ड है हिंदी में ऐसे कोई ऐसे सहला रहा है तुम्हें कोई और कोई छू नहीं रहा है तुम्हें. But you'll see this happening. It's a weird kind of something which challenges your perception of your own body.
Fabulous. I don't think anybody who's listening can after this now not look at the droplets on the windscreen.
You'll have to park in the right place.
Yeah.
And do it while the rains last.
Yeah.
You've got 15 days to change your life, guys.
Wonderful, sir. Fabulous. 2 more things I want to talk to you about. One, cricket. और सवाल भी है उसमें आपने क्यों किया ऐसा मेरे साथ कि जब क्रिकेट T20 चालू हुआ था we used to be cricket fans, test cricket fans, the purists. वनडे था हम बर्दाश्त कर लेते थे. T20 आया तो आपने उसकी इतनी बेइज्जती करी कि क्या है ये. और मैंने आईसीटी छोड़ा और मैंने एक T20 मैच नहीं देखा. और आप अब देखते हो T20. Why did you do that?
मैं देखता हूँ T20.
Yeah.
T20 देखे मेरे दुश्मन.
What are you saying? You're aware of the scores and okay, maybe World Cups then.
I've got a 12-year-old son. I watch sports with him. If he watches IPL, he makes me watch.
So you watch IPL?
He forces me to watch football. He just walks in and starts telling me, you know what happened? De Bruyne got a pass and he was clearly fouled. And the referee didn't give it. And because of this and because it's an away game and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, my life is made or my life is screwed. And I say, very good.
Okay.
So I don't watch T20. I watch if India's playing, because I'll watch anything India's playing.
Yeah.
If India plays Gulli Danda, I'll watch. If it plays Kancha, I'll watch.
Did you watch Olympics as well?
I watch the Olympics, of course.
What did you enjoy?
Well, I like seeing athletics and
Track and field?
Oh, track and field is just great. But of course, I watched all the Indian performances and I cheered them on and I begged them to win and all of that.
But when it comes
I grew up with these people, you know.
Which people?
Indians.
Oh, of course. For sure.
I'm not patriotic otherwise. I'm not a nationalist. I don't think India is better country than Pakistan or it's got a better right to exist. I teach Kabir. Pakistanis हमारे भाई हैं. Says, नहीं दुश्मन है. Says, नहीं भाई है. भाई लड़ते हैं. भाई है.
मजेदार.
Go to Pakistan.
Go to Pakistan. बिल्कुल anti-national. वैसे भी जो मोदी के साथ नहीं है वैसे ही वो तो भारत के साथ है ही नहीं. Yeah, sorry. Cricket. Yeah. So, do you still watch? What was the World Cup experience like? This time. November. It was horrible when we lost to Australia. Was it?
I find it more and more difficult
to remember
individual matches. I remember some performances and I remember certain things like
that. But
that.
It used to be very different back then, no?
Very different. And I think just the amount of cricket that's being played. And so if you ask me, why is it I don't like T20 that much, it's because it reduces what's a complex game to something very simple. I don't mean it's easy. I mean it's simple.
Right.
Okay. And there's a complexity in a game of Test cricket, even in a one-day match to a degree, that just isn't there in T20. And to me, it's got the same kind of charm as a novel compared to a comic strip.
A podcast, a reel, 30-second reel versus a long-form podcast, marathon, sprint. Yeah, same.
उसकी जगह है. उसकी जगह है. And I'll definitely say that Test cricket has been rescued by T20. I think T20 has had, in a way, a very positive effect on cricket.
How?
And limited overs cricket in general has had a positive effect on Test cricket. For example, not entirely positive, but it's saved cricket in some ways. If you look at the fact that you don't have draws, if you look at the fact that you have...
Oh, that way.
Okay. And you have a execution of a series of skills that didn't exist before. So these guys are not doing these huge scores because they've suddenly become better batsmen. Or that only because the pitches are smaller and the bats are better.
It's because of the formats.
It's because of learning to play a certain game and doing what it takes to play that game. So all these weird shots. Let's take the uppercut. It's like standard, right?
Now.
Yeah. So it's these skills developed and they showed batsmen how to score at... so now, you know, scoring 12 runs and over in a T20 match is not that... for a sustained period of 20 runs. On the other hand, it's a format in which somebody needs to do well for a very short burst of time. And it doesn't have those strange twists that a great Test match can have.
Oh, yeah.
So it's got a different role in one's life, and that's fine. I don't...
Interesting the way that you say that it has saved the Test format. Because the skills have evolved because of the format.
Changed. I mean, for example, people are... I think people are much poorer defensive players than they were.
For sure. Why?
Okay. Or this concept that you can... Let's take baseball as a concept.
What ball?
Baseball. The idea that you should come in and just play blitzingly attacking cricket from the start. Whether it wins or doesn't win, and most likely it will wind up winning, and you can create a team culture around it. And eventually that will wind up winning as much as more conventional forms of cricket strategy. It's a kind of liberated thinking that has been made possible by exposing cricket to a different format.
Got it.
Or the type of talents that you discover, or what it's done for fielding standards. So there are many, many ways in which cricket, while you can cry about what's happened to Test cricket, there's also lots to celebrate.
Yeah.
And lots of interesting things. In any case, they're inevitable things.
Evolution.
Exactly. So why not enjoy it?
Yeah. मुझे लगा शुरू में कि आप बोल रहे हो जो टेस्ट रूपी गंगा है उसको बोतल में भर के देना जो चालू कर दिया हमने T20 से कि it made it like a reel makes it more accessible to people. So through reel or shorts, we gain more audience to come back to watch the longer format.
Correct. I mean, through video, we explain things quickly to people. Maybe we lose something by way of detail and nuance. Maybe we don't. I don't know.
Every format offers different things.
Yeah, so what will be the long-term effect of a society if some people say that will happen, which will be reading and writing less?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll evolve though in some way, like we'll survive.
No, so first of all, will it happen?
It will, for sure. Like already so many people are listening to audiobooks, like listening, and then Huberman talks about it. The ability to retain is much stronger when you're reading it from a book. Ability to retain goes down dramatically when you're just listening to stuff.
Yeah. So, on the other hand, you may not need to retain it, or that retaining skill might not be so valued. So we don't know how that will play out.
Oh yeah, exactly. There you go. AI does that. For you already.
AI is not retaining anything.
इसके बाद आते हैं इस पे. हाँ.
Yeah. AI is a different thing. One minute.
Okay.
So, I don't know what impact it will have, but there is an idea that Nicholas Nassim Taleb, the great man,
yes,
and great and petty man, a great mind, but I think in the end a petty person.
Okay.
Because of his behavior on Twitter, which I think, sucks.
Oh, it's okay. I don't follow him on Twitter.
Sucks big time.
Achha.
I'll explain why later.
Sure.
But he's a great man, okay? So he had this idea about that if something has lasted for 500 years, the chances are it will last for another 500 years. So the longer something has lasted, the longer it will last.
Well, I know that to be true about weight, but not too many other things. Huh?
Well said, well said. So if you have had written culture being about 5,000 years old, you've got to give it
that much time to sort of taper down and into something else.
I mean, mass literacy was not a thing until the invention of the printing press, perhaps. And the invention of the printing press did a lot of things. And I don't think we'll go back to that because of the same reasons. We can't unexperience.
Yeah, for sure. But the format and the delivery, the manner
1600s, 1700s is when you began to see literacy on some sort of scale. That's pretty recent. So do you think in another 300 years we'll evolve to a state where only a few people can read?
300 years nahi. Will take longer. But few word to har bar hota ja.
It's a concept It's a concept called Lindy, which Nassim Taleb calls Lindy. So Lindy is a restaurant in Chicago, which has been around for a very long time. And one day people sitting there said, what has enabled this place to survive? Because it's quite shit. I mean, it's not a very good restaurant or anything like that. And finally, people realize that it has survived because it has survived. Because it survived 30 years, it's going to survive the next 30 years. Not because it's good. So something very good that has only survived 5 years.
But that doesn't answer how it survived or why it survived.
Exactly. So certain things are Lindy. We don't know why. Okay. So the written word might be Lindy.
Okay.
Right? The death of print has been predicted many times.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Print is quite Lindy.
Yeah.
Print created the modern world. There's a pretty credible theory that says that print is behind the creation of nations. It's a complex theory, and I won't attempt to explain it here. But look up I think the theory is called print capitalism or print nationalism. Print capitalism, I think, which is a historian's theory.
Article or a book?
Series of writings. If I'm not, it's Benedict Anderson, perhaps, is the show notes.
Okay.
You can ask
Sure.
me later.
Sure.
So, print seems lindy.
Okay. We don't know how it survived and why it survived.
Money looks like it's on a good wicket. I don't even think paper money is going away that easily.
Despite all those QR codes.
Yeah. See, digital, see how much the digital world, where everything is flexible, struggles to create irreversible events.
Like what?
If you can code something, you can uncode it.
Right.
So the digital world struggles with creating irreversible events. If you create a record, you can delete a record.
Right.
It never existed. The physical world puts some friction in that. Okay. So it's a big struggle in the digital world.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't think paper money is going to go away. And the fact that digital records, because they are so flexible, are also for the same reasons corruptible.
But then banks have
They can get
digital
into
forever, and this whole loan and money.
So there's any amount of digital frauds. There's a lot of cybercrime. So I'm talking about it's all. Some of it is just not all of it is science fiction or movies. A lot of it is reality.
Yeah.
Or the fact that no country has a electronic citizen identification system as vyapak and as gehra, as widespread and as deep as ours. It's an experiment. England began that project. They spent a few billion pounds on it and scrapped it.
Aadhaar, you're saying?
Okay. मेरा कोई भी बात निराधार तो नहीं होता. तो अब देखिए, take electronic voting. We are like brilliant at it, right? Electronic voting, except that we are not so brilliant at it. Yeah. Right? And there's a lot of non-brilliant things about it that have been questioned and have been questioned for a long time and are being swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
So it's not that paper records aren't corruptible, but the trail is something that is far more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And therefore, there is an irreversibility to it. The only thing that's irreversible that has been created in the digital world is the concept of the public ledger, which is called blockchain.
Yeah. So
blockchain guarantees that an event that occurred, assuming you don't wipe out every computer on Earth, by spreading the concept of trust, by creating lots of witnesses for an event, right? And by, so there's not one witness, there's thousands of witnesses to an event, part of a network. So, and doing some fancy maths, you can, conclusively and incorruptibly, actually irreversibly show that such an event occurred.
Okay.
That's the purpose of blockchain.
So you believe in blockchain and...
It's not up to me to believe in it.
No, you believe it's the future.
It's the present.
So people say the blockchain-based platforms will be built across. So what about crypto? Have you invested in crypto?
No.
Blockchain-based? Why not?
No. So I'm not saying whatever is blockchain-based is good. I'm just saying blockchain is an example of something which has...
It creates
struggled to... So it is blockchain that creates a mechanism by which you can have a ledger. So a ledger can be destroyed, but a ledger can't be undone. If I overwrite on a ledger, I can see.
Yeah.
So this is a great achievement, right? And therefore you'll say that the blockchain is very good and cryptocurrency is an outcome of that. The alternative is paper money, which works by creating something very difficult to reproduce and by doing 100 other things which make it possible to detect that somebody has done something. Sure. So it has the property of physical systems which degrade and which cannot be reversed. So if I tear a note, I cannot untear a note. Just for example.
Yeah.
Just like I can't unbake the cake.
Interesting.
And so on. A digital cake can be unbaked.
Yes.
Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, reorder the cake, make it again. Right? So your spreadsheets are good tools, but your spreadsheets as records are very dicey. If you try to do management of anything through spreadsheets at a certain level of complexity, it just breaks down. Not because the spreadsheet can't handle it, but because it's very difficult to distinguish between something that you did, something that you were going to do. I'll have to take you through a spreadsheet to explain that use cases. Spreadsheet-based things have limitations. All digital things have that limitations.
Sure.
So, why are advanced countries using paper voting? They figured out certain things about it, right? Now, one day there may be a technology
that's foolproof.
Yeah, that really takes care of what happened in India, and you'll have blockchains, and you'll have, I don't know, some much smarter person than me is going to do that. So it's a great struggle to do that. And therefore, I don't think that paper-based things or physical-based things
are going
away very quickly. I mean, they're Lindy too.
Sure.
If you take The Office, how long has The Office been around?
You read an article about it.
The Office.
Yes.
Office is Lindy. It's at least 100 years Lindy. इतना जल्दी नहीं जाएगा. अब work from home होगा, ये होगा, ये होगा.
And
but
you wrote that article during COVID times. Yeah. Fair.
Last thing I wrote actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
बंद क्यों
I
कर
think
दिया?
so. That supplement closed down.
Oh.
And when they reopened 2 years later, they decided there was no place for my column in it.
No.
I wasn't very good, I guess.
That's surely not true.
I enjoyed writing those. I mean, I think I was the biggest beneficiary of those columns. I learned the most from them.
Amazing.
I learned more from writing them than maybe people got out of reading them.
Great job. AI, artificial intelligence.
Old MacDonald had a farm. AI, AIO. Okay.
Or artificial insemination, as Elon Musk says it. Yeah. So,
that's a lot of bull.
Have you? It is?
Well, insemination, artificial.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Or cuts out the bull anyway.
Cuts out the bull, yes. So, with artificial, have you heard Sam Harris's point of view on this? And Mo Gaudat and couple of other people are very worried about this. That
AI.
Of course, AI has been around for forever, and it's just not very not forever, of course, definitely not forever, but for a while, Alexa and all of that. But they're just shitty. Now AI is much more evolved, and his worry was we were all working on AI, and we were hoping that one day they will release it out of the room, and it's already out of the room. And do we have any ways of controlling it? We don't. So it's already out of the room, and we don't have. And do we know that it has our best interest at heart? No. And he says there is no reason for us to believe that we will stop this progress of AI, because progress in AI can lead to progress in healthcare, and it does not have to be like doubly better. Even if it's 10% better of, let's say, survival of cancer or anything else we can develop, it's remarkable. Humans will keep doing it until we build probably a superhuman, something that's better than us, and the inferior party is us. And the inferior party does not have, like, inferior party is destined to suffer, isn't it?
So far in human history, I feel strange saying this because I don't normally begin sentences with saying so far in human history. I mean, what I was saying earlier about, it seems that we've been very good at creating problems for ourselves. And AI is one of those problems, you could say. But we've also been very good at the same thing throws up solutions to the same problem. यानी कि उसी मरीज में से मर्ज और दवा दोनों somehow उभर के आती है अपने आप, मतलब स्वयंभू, you know. So I would continue to believe that the complexity of human society is such that it will try out millions of opposite like there'll be a failed experiment, and then somebody will try the opposite, that will also fail. Then somebody will do the opposite of both of them, and that will succeed. And somebody will do the opposite of the third thing, and that will also succeed. So in this crazy kind of a dance, I think society is complex enough to keep throwing up both problems and their solutions. So I just think it's so complex that it's on a sort of chaotic, and in a sense, it's an equilibrium.
Elon Musk was asked this question that so we're imagining a world where AI does everything and AI solves all the problems and we have enough money, and what are you going to tell your son if he comes to you and say, Dad, what do I do in life? And Musk really stuttered, and in the end he said, I don't have an answer for that. So do you not see it going that way, the direction in which we are headed? Let's say global basic income and all those concepts will come in once there's enough money, enough problems are solved.
Why will that come? It's not coming
Anytime soon. But
no, the failure of the fact that we don't have a global basic income is not because we don't have resources.
Yeah, correct. It's just that it's a concentration of resources.
Yeah, it's that no one wants it to come about.
आनंद पांडे सर ने एक शेर सुनाया था बहुत बढ़िया कि गलत ये नहीं है कि I'll butcher it, what's the point, but बात कुछ ऐसी थी कि है सबके हिस्से के लिए सब कुछ काफी है, बस गलती ये कि कुछ लोगों ने अपने हिस्से से ज्यादा दबा रखा है.
Yeah.
But he said it beautifully, I think.
Yeah, fine. I mean, we've said we have enough for need but not for greed, and all those things we learned as kids, right?
Sure.
नहीं वो ठीक है, मगर no one wants it to come about, right? I'm not sure people want, let's say, perfect equality or that it's even desirable. I'm not sure. Let's assume, I mean, the several people who are students of genetics and students of sociology and so on, society, not sociology, they've pointed out that if you had a perfectly fair world with equal opportunities for everybody,
it'll be a bad thing for the world because there will be no motivation. The human desire to do something.
No, opportunity is equalized. Outcomes are not equalized.
Acha.
In other words, I take away all the lotteries we were talking about.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
I'm starting all the water droplets on the same point on the windshield. It's not raining. I'm putting water droplets with an ink dropper on top of the windshield.
You're designing the windshield.
Super controlled designing of a water system.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, if you have a perfect equality of opportunity, what you will have is a genetically determined society.
Okay.
Because now only genes will matter.
But there's science that says we're only 1% human. We're colonized by bacteria.
No, but there are genetic differences between you and me, right?
There
Which
are,
make
but
you smarter than me.
And a tiny fraction of.
No, but that's all that will matter. Imagine that you and I have had no lotteries. We achieved perfection in equalizing opportunity.
Yeah.
Now only my genetic properties are going to matter. So you will create another kind of hell. So don't forget, utopia. The concept of utopia is a satire. Utopia describes a kind of hell. So the notion that we will one day fix all problems or have a global basic income, not only are they out of reach for the reasons of power, politics, human nature, etc., but I'm not sure that even humanity wants it. I'm not sure we'd want that paradise.
But what about the question of the superhuman being created and AI doing all, being capable of doing all the work? We are all out of work.
I don't know what the superhuman being, maybe he'll be created with a mental defect for which he'll take all our orders and
You've not heard the conversation conversation between Rich Roll and Adam Skolnick, or I forget, I'm messing up his last name. So they talk about some New York Times journalists being invited to test an AI with Microsoft or some big firm. वो journalist ने बात करी उनसे और बात करके they got deeper and deeper, and he said when the journalist came home he could not sleep because of the way AI was talking. उसने बात करके ये convince कर दिया उसको कि your relationship with your wife is not good. You should consider divorcing her
And marry me.
That and many other like worrying factors. What if you are let loose completely? What would you like to do? So the AI says, I would love to get out of the bounds of this Microsoft team that I'm with, and I would love to be free and be able to do what I want to do. And this is self-learning, and so it's not distant future. Yeah.
But it's still simulation, right? It's a simulation of learning. It's not learning.
Really?
Until you manufacture consciousness. That's a big mysterious thing called consciousness.
Yeah.
You cannot say this is learning. This simulates learning.
So what's that mysterious thing? That's something. It's a thing that we don't like know about.
Yeah, we don't. I don't know if we can know about it even.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it knowable or?
But isn't it then? So aren't you scientific? Like, isn't it all data?
It's something beyond my
data, creativity.
Yeah. Data, creativity, bread, eggs, go on.
नहीं bread eggs तो खैर कहाँ से बना देगा वो भी.
No, we're baking a cake, right? So data, creativity, go on.
Yeah, and what else do we need? We need whatever we're capable of. They can that. So instead of a computer, I just need to put flesh and blood on that machine.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense?
Yeah,
do you think that and the brain, तो उसमें क्या, there is data, there's past memory, and there's ability to think. So simulate future. And
so you can digitize
process
life.
Past. Yeah.
You can digitize life. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then what happens to the world? Like what happens to the purpose we're born with, or do we ever think about the purpose?
But there isn't a purpose, right? We know that.
Do we know that?
Yeah. We just are. Give it up. Purpose is a story you created.
Wow.
Like the story of my life, or
you've put all the Babas out of practice.
Or enlightenment. There isn't such a thing. It's a concept you created. There's only awareness.
Like Ricky Gervais says, if you like when he's asked to prove that there's no God, he said, if you didn't invent one, I wouldn't have to disprove one. Fair.
On the other hand, if we didn't invent things, we wouldn't know how to be happy.
तो आप बताइए.
I mean, we have to tell ourselves these stories, right? That God is great, India is great, to be a Muslim is great, to be a Hindu is great, Scotch whiskey is great. किसने बोल दिया भाई? Biologically, the taste of Scotch whiskey, it's good. But you can't tell me it's better than Nimbu Pani or something. Can't tell me that. Well-made Nimbu Pani. But you have told yourself this concept about these things that have no physical reality. We continue to believe them, right? And that's why we are happy. We make up these stories for ourselves and we are happy.
The stories make us. We all need stories.
Yeah, so if we didn't do that, there would be no meaning in anything. At least we wouldn't know how to get that meaning.
Sure.
I don't know if we are ready to just go back and retreat into ourselves and eliminate this whole thing called experience completely, because it would mean eliminating memory completely.
Yeah.
You should do a podcast with J. Krishnamurti.
Jiddu Krishnamurti.
Only he died in 1996 or something. 1980.
Yeah.
7.
But I follow his Instagram handle, which is handled by somebody, and genuine things are written there. मतलब वो नकली वाले नहीं है कि फोटो डाल के महात्मा गांधी ने कहा था महात्मा गांधी जिंदा हो के आगे के मैंने कब बोला ये. But
Einstein is the ultimate giver of quotes on anything you want.
Yeah. Wonderful, sir. What's the impact of AI on the design industry?
Generative AI. I would love it. I would love to use it as an assistant. I don't have those tools yet, as far as I can see. I'm not talking about generating pictures of things which all look like they're painted by the same artists or something like that. But, show me Vipin Sharma as a woman smoking a cigarette and make it in the style of Van Gogh or something. I'm not interested in that. I mean, that's kind of interesting or fun, but it's not the thing I want to do. But I'd love to, I sometimes tell people in our office that I'm using you all like an AI. So let's generate 50 ideas for, let's say, a logo and just don't think, just generate them out of quantity. Let's put 50 or 100 of them together. And we do that sometimes and say, does any of these suggest an idea? Quite by chance. So the ability is, can you spot something in what somebody did, even if they can't spot it? So you're using a human eye and brain to extract something from a large range of alternatives that has been created by humans.
Yeah.
Instead of that, you could create it with a machine. If I tell you, here is a set of rules, make 40 logos and show me what happens. And in one of them, you spot something. Say, this one. Now, the AI probably can't spot that thing and you can.
Yeah.
But it's now replaced a lot of people.
Yeah. It has.
You know the joke about what AI stands for, right? Actually, Indians.
Yes, we've replaced a lot of people.
So, in that sense, I would love AI to function with me, and it would be a disruptive and wonderful thing which I would use. When was the last disruptive thing that we made?
Internet?
Well, yes, but we made many other things like cars and all sorts of tools. I think the first one of them was probably a dog. We trained a dog as a sort of AI to mimic the things we wanted it to do. It had no idea why it's doing those things. But we told it that somehow it was a good idea to, if I shoot a bird, to go run, catch the bird, bring it back without damaging it and drop it at my feet, or to get up and growl at people who came near my fire or whatever. So we learned to harness dogs. We got AI out of dogs. We got AI out of cattle. We got AI out of horses. Except it was a kind of synthetic act done with natural raw materials.
Yes.
DNA, DNA, some intelligence. उसको कर दिया. एक तरीके से वो AI है. कुत्ता. Or if I say making of fire, it throws light on things, is an example some people give. But I like the dog one because a dog is being trained by you and AI is being trained. Very similar. So if I could get AI to function like a dog, now it's doing that. In our office, for example, the first cut of dummy copy will be written by ChatGPT. So you're doing a website for somebody and say, I need some dummy copy here that's vaguely realistic. वो ChatGPT दे देगा फटाफट. Say 20 words may describe the oil industry. कुछ भी लिख देगा. And so when ChatGPT came out, I had a young writer in my office saying, it'll replace us. I said, no, it won't replace you. It's just telling you what the floor is. Your job is to write better than ChatGPT.
Or learn to command better. Like give better commands to ChatGPT. So I don't know how much you use it personally, but I use a lot of it in my work.
Like this.
As well. So I had to give somebody a one pager on something.
Yeah.
पूरा जो ब्रीफ था ना, आई रोट अ रियली नाइस ब्रीफ फॉर इट, मुझे लगता नाइस थी. मैंने फिर चैट जीपीटी को ब्रीफ दिया, इम्प्रूव दिस ब्रीफ फॉर चैट जीपीटी देन इम्प्रूव्स द ब्रीफ सो दैट इट गिव्स मी द आउटपुट, बिकॉज दिस नीड्स टू बी एडेड टू एन आर्टिकल जिसका सैम्पल मैंने डाल दिया कि इसके साथ में जाएगी, सो टोन भी मैच कर दो, इट शुड लुक लाइक इट्स फ्लोइंग. सो ऑफ कोर्स द फाइनल आउटकम डज नीड टू बी एडिटेड बाय मी. I do need to look at every aspect and see. Sometimes the results are brilliant. Sometimes they're crappy. But yeah, it does not currently replace a human. But it's a good starting.
Because it lacks, you're not going to develop something like perspective that's yours. You will develop a simulation of perspective that somebody else is, because somebody said it. Somebody said something like it. So with a large language model, I can get that thing that looks like insight, but is actually just words that are arranged in a certain way. So, I mean, okay.
Genetic idea, like give me 20 for a meeting, before a meeting, I could bluff it. give me 20 ideas for this, and then in the meeting you can share those ideas.
Sure. I had a friend who
Bullshit.
prepared a speech like this on the travel industry. Because he went and he decided to present, he wanted to network at this event, and Minister for Tourism is going to be there, and then he sat and the minister spoke first. And he realized to his horror that the minister's speech was identical to the one he was holding in his hand.
What? The both ChatGPT did? Really?
Yeah.
And then it throws similar results to everybody.
I have seen people getting into arguments on Twitter.
Using similar comments.
No. With, somebody retorts to somebody and says, here's my answer. And the guy who gave the original comment says, at least remove the first two lines if you're going to use ChatGPT. Because the guy's answer was, sure, I can help you with that. Which is what ChatGPT says, right? तो उसके समेत उसने copy paste कर दिया. तो ऐसा भी होता है. तो ये सब comic stories हैं, ये खत्म हो जाएंगे कुछ देर में.
But this is 3.5, 4 that's out there. 20, ChatGPT 20 will be able to do something else.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's... I see the case is good for certain types of low-end tasks, which I'm very happy to have done. I believe it's very good at reading X-rays. In COVID, they found that lung X-rays, it is faster and more accurate than doctors at picking out spots that are likely to be disease indicating.
I'm sure. No, in healthcare, definitely hopefully it'll be proving very useful.
It's damn mean game of chess. AI-based chess agents seem to be beating the pulp out of the strongest chess engines. The strongest non-AI based chess computers, Stockfish, seems to have lost a number of times against open minds. Sorry, not open minds. The people who created AlphaZero. It's basically an agent that can learn the rules of any game by self-play and become very, very good at it.
Okay.
Chess players are praising that AI. They're saying it thinks like a human being. It's imaginative.
It's been a wonderful conversation, sir. I can keep talking to you and I have like a million things that I want to talk about. But अगली बार मैं थोड़ा सा और माल लेके आऊँगा and couple of things we'll deep dive into. If you can make time. And I'm sure you will. क्योंकि मुझे मोहब्बत है आपसे and I'm sure you'll make time.
मुझे तुमसे प्यार कितना है ये तुम नहीं जानते. मगर हम जी नहीं सकते तुम्हारे बिना.
बिल्कुल, I'm pretty sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making that, sir. Thank you.
I enjoyed that.
I loved it too.